In Shaanxi province there is a place known as Xiaogu village, where the house of the Song family resides. In this small village, the Song family has stood tall as a prestigious clan for 100 years, glorified by the white jade sword, the pride of Xiaogu village. People nicknamed the head of the Song family the Righteous Sword, and he lives up to the name with a character that matches it. The head of the Song family, the Righteous Sword, is known as Song Buzhong, and for many years he has been confident in all that he does. However, he now has one reason to worry: Song Baek, the second child of the Song family. On the training ground, the young lad, who has stopped drinking breast milk, trembled as he held his sword. After a while he told his dad that he couldn't take it anymore, and Mr. Song yelled at him, "Baek, you brat!" Is that what to say as a child of the Song family? The warriors of the household who were also training were used to their father-son scenes but felt Mr. Song was being too harsh on Baek, considering he was just 7 years old. However, there was nothing they could do. On the other hand, the firstborn son of the Song family, Song Young, trained with mana emanating from his body. He swung his sword skillfully with ease and zero stress. One of the martial arts students remarked, "The eldest son is quite the genius, isn't he? Because at such a young age, he has already mastered the Song family's techniques." On top of that, they said he was already acquainted with the 3 classics and military tactics. Compared to the eldest son, the second son is really lacking. Mr. Song was still forcing Baek to train despite the fact that he was tired. One of the students whispered to another that Mr. Song should wrap up the training with his child because if he kept this up, that person would come. However, Baek still wasn't getting it right, so Mr. Song yelled at him again. Suddenly, a lady with red eyes and an overpowering presence arrived and told him to stop already. Indeed, this was the person the students were referring to. There's a saying that goes, "After God, the fear of women is the beginning of wisdom," and upon seeing her, Mr. Song trembled. He stammered, "Ma'am, what are you doing here?" Baek was overjoyed to see his mom, so he ran to hug her. Mr. Song then said, "Ma'am, if you keep coddling him like that, Baek will end up being weak." But Mrs. Song glared at him and replied, "Baek is only 7. What more can you expect from a child that young?" He was whining like a dog on a hot day. Mr. Song retorted that Baek is a child of a warrior family, so he needs a bit of discipline. In a fierce tone, Mrs. Song replied, "And so what? Is that how you want to raise him? The same way you raised young A 13-year-old child who doesn't even think about his mom and just trains with a sword would have no charm at all. Young A was such a cute kid, now look at how you turned him into a dull son due to your harsh training." Mrs. Song said that their eldest son, young A, followed the ways of the world, but she wouldn't raise Baek like that. Meanwhile, young A stopped training and, seeing them having their daily argument, looked up at the sky and said he was happy for such a lovely family. On that same day at night, there was a sudden downpour, and Mr. Song, who was taking a stroll, wondered what was with the sudden rain. It didn't seem like it would stop soon, and if it continued like this, he would have to skip training. If he made them train in the rain, his wife, Mrs. Song, would give him an earful, and it would definitely be chaos. As he strolled, he looked at his jade sword and said, "Honestly, it's not fair to just blame Baek for not doing well in training. I'm neglecting my own training too for someone thinking of raising warriors." He then grabbed his mighty jade sword with a firm grip, unsheathed it, and began training. The aura of his skill and mana alone felt like the Third World War. Indeed, he was worthy of being the head of the prestigious Song family. While he trained, young A came with an umbrella and watched Mr. Song. He interpreted his father's skill and stance, saying, "Roots that grow deep in the ground aren't afraid of frost. The evergreen can only be obtained by enduring bitter colds and fierce winds. That's what loyalty and nobility are all about." Young A noted that the path of his father, who has reached the 8th form of the Song family martial arts, is incredibly verdant. By now, Mr. Song was done training, so he sheathed his sword. With a sigh from training, he asked young A what brought him here at this late hour. He replied, "The general was looking for you, so I came to let you know, father." "The general?" Mr. Song asked, and Young replied, "Yes, he said that some old lady asked to be sheltered from the rain for a bit." Mr. Song inquired what an old lady was doing at their mansion at this hour. Young explained that they shouldn't let outsiders in carelessly, but since she looked desperate, he decided to ask father, "But if you're not keen, should I tell the guards not to let her in?" "No," Mr. Song replied, "I will go out and see for myself, but before that, I would like you to tell me what your father's path is like. However, young Ah couldn't answer. He was quiet, and Mr. Song thought to himself, am I being too greedy? No matter how talented young Ah is, asking about the secret of the 8 emblems of the Song family is too much. Mr. Song felt that young Ah wouldn't know the answer, but to his surprise, Young was as wise as Elon Musk. He replied, Father's path is verdant. He continued saying, the roots firmly planted in the earth endure the storm, so they always endure their greenery. Mr. Song was shocked and amazed at the same time by his son's reply. He then laughed out loud as if it were a comedy show. Mr. Song said that even if young Ah was some genius, that was taking it too far. He was simply talking about the secrets of reaching the peaks of the 8 emblems of the Song family. Upon hearing this, young Ah asked, Father, what does that mean? Suddenly, Mr. Song threw the mighty jade sword to young Ah, telling him to take it. Young Ah caught the sword as if his life depended on it. Mr. Song then said, starting tomorrow, begin practicing with the jade sword because you are now ready. Young Ah replied, but it's only the head of the Song family that can wield the jade sword. Mr. Song responded that the jade sword is just a good sword, and a sharp sword should go to someone who can use it properly. Since I'm in a good mood, I guess I should give the old lady the master's bedroom, he said, before leaving to see the old lady at the gate. Upon arriving, he encountered a lady older than my great-grandma, although I had never seen her. The old woman had a suspicious-looking hunchback that seemed like she was pregnant backward. The old lady said that she was going to Huajong Temple, wanting to offer a tribute to Buddha. Her son was the most devoted son there ever was, but was dragged off to war and returned as a headless corpse. She said she needed to pray at the temple so her son would forget his foolish mother, allowing her some dignity when she meets him in the afterlife. I, for one, would never allow such a lady into my home, no matter her touching story, but Mr. Song, being who he is, told her to come in. He said to the lady, I will prepare a room for you, and as for Huajong Temple, I will send someone to take you there as soon as day breaks. The old lady exclaimed, oh dear, such generous treatment for this pitiful lady. With all this good karma, the Song family's head's reputation is probably booming all over Shaanxi. I believe in that rumor that you have a good character. Otherwise, you would easily turn your back on a pitiful old woman. By now, Mr. Song felt that something seemed off, and before he could look back, the old woman sent a deadly needle that stung Mr. Song's neck. He fell to the floor and asked, what are you doing? The old lady replied, we are just preparing since you are considered a countryside sect, but you rank among the top 3 in Shaanxi province. It would be a problem if you exceeded my expectations. It dawned on Mr. Song that the old lady was trying to kill him. He then said, it's still too early for me to die. With the speed of light, he sliced her head off, and just like ping pong, her head bounced on the ground. The poison was already spreading, and Mr. Song threw up about 1 liter of blood, exclaiming, screw that wretched old hag! Suddenly, an eerie voice came from the old lady's body saying, please do not overexert yourself, Master Song. Since you are poisoned by the 7 treasures rejuvenation powder, the more you move, the more painful it will be. Suddenly, a man emerged from the dead old lady's body through her neck. Mr. Song couldn't believe his eyes, so he asked, who are you? The short man replied, does it really matter who I am? After all, the Song family will be exterminated today. Mr. Song snapped, shut up! Then he stood up to attack the man, but the short man said, I told you not to rush. Suddenly, he grew nails longer than my girlfriend's, and used them to block Mr. Song's attack. The short man's nails were so strong that they broke through Mr. Song's sword, and this scene took him aback. He thought to himself that this short man used deterioration, and that there was no metal strong enough to eat away at steel in the Central Plains. He concluded that the short man's martial arts skill was definitely blood demon technique. The short man, while bending down, told Mr. Song that he was impressive to be able to move like this, despite being poisoned. Meanwhile, Mr. Song thought to himself what a lackey of the demon sect was doing in this countryside. The short man said that something not fitting one's status tends to cause trouble. What? Mr. Song asked, and the short man replied, the white jade sword. He said that the white jade sword, which had taken countless lives during the war, had gained recognition, and that the demon sect leader was impressed by its power and desired it for himself. This meant that the jade sword would become the first trophy of the Central Plains. The short man, while standing with his fingers, said that the first honor of the demons would be bestowed on the blood demons. Mr. Song gritted his teeth as he thought that the demon sect's members were on the move again, and that this short man was probably the vanguard. Therefore, the demon sect bastards would invade anytime soon, and if it continues like this, the Song family will not be able to avoid destruction, just like the short man said. Fortunately, the white jade sword is in young R's possession. Mr. Song held his sword firmly, with mana emanating from him. He then said that they could escape before the other demon sect bastards arrive. The short man asked, "What's that stance? Are you planning to make a final desperate attempt to fight me?" Mr. Song didn't mind what the short man was yapping about. Instead, he noticed his son young R, a distance behind him. The young lad was surprised to see the strange short man instead of an old lady. Then Mr. Song screamed, "Children of the Song family, you must survive. Your roots are in the Song family." He then engaged the short man in a fearsome battle. Young R screamed out, "Father!" and before he could run to him, Mrs. Song held him back, saying he should not go. Young R pleaded, "Please let me go. At this rate, father will die." With a change in aura, Mrs. Song replied, "It's the Lord's command. Do you dare defy it?" "No, mother," he replied. From her expression, young R could see that the matter at hand was serious, and that the battle between the strange man and his father was not something someone like him, who couldn't handle bitches yet, would join. Young R complied with his mom, and as they were leaving he thought, "Father, please stay alive, you must come back alive." In the boys' room, Mrs. Song was dressing Baek R. He asked, "Mother, why are you changing your clothes?" Mrs. Song replied, "I am getting ready to go on a trip with you and young R." "But why is older brother facing away?" Baek R asked. Mrs. Song couldn't reply, he was too young to understand. Meanwhile, young R thought to himself, "Is it really right to leave father behind like this? Perhaps it would be better to send only mother and Baek R to safety." Mrs. Song called young R, and when he looked back, she took out her most treasured pendant from her neck and gave it to him. She said it was the victory token of the Song family, and showing it to anyone would let them know he was a member of the Song family. With all this being said, it dawned on young R that his mom was staying behind and not leaving with them. In tears he said, "Mother, are you saying that you will also stay here?" Mrs. Song hugged him and said, "Oh my young R has really grown a lot. I can't believe I lived without realizing how much you have grown." Young R cried out loud, and all she had been saying sounded like a farewell speech. Mrs. Song brought Baek R closer, hugging both of them. She then said, "From today, you are not two but one, so you must never part. Brothers are a blessing from heaven, your bond is a sacred duty and not just an obligation." She said to Baek R that he must follow his older brother as if he were his father, and young R should guide his younger brother on the right path. "Do you understand?" "Yes, I do," young R replied. They entered an underground hole from their house. Before they left, Baek R asked, "Mum, are you not coming with us?" And Mrs. Song replied, "For now, just go with your brother. I and your father will be behind you both." Dumb Baek R was like, "Oh, so it's a game of hide and seek?" Mrs. Song replied, "Yes, it's a game of hide and seek that will take a long time." They both entered the underground passage. Mrs. Song closed the hole, thinking to herself that it's obvious someone like her who can't use martial arts would hold the kids back. Since they must survive, the best option is to stay behind and buy them time from the invaders. She wished them happiness. She then said, "Hope I did well, Lord Song." In another scene, in other parts of the Song residence, assassins dressed in black were killing the rest of the Song sect members brutally, without them even knowing what attacked them. Such painful deaths. Mrs. Song, who had been hearing the screams of her dying household, knew it would soon be her turn, so she patiently awaited death. On the other hand, Mr. Song was already covered in blood and drained of strength. If only he wasn't poisoned, he would have slain the weird-looking short man in an instant. But with the poison in his body, he was as slow as a snail in my backyard. The short man laughed, saying, "You are holding up quite well, Master Song. This is the first time I faced someone who endured my blood demon technique to this extent, but I'm starting to get bored, so hand over the white jade sword, and I will let you die without pain." Amidst the short man's yapping, Mr. Song wondered if the children made it out alive. Then he said, "Fortunately, it seems that heaven has not yet abandoned the Song family." With a change in aura, he added, "I will finish this." Meanwhile, the short man continued his taunts, expressing surprise that Mr. Song could still stand despite being poisoned by the Seven Treasures rejuvenation powder and the blood demon technique. Mr. Song gathered his strength while the short man was spouting trash, and bang, there was an outburst of mana flowing from his body. This scene put the short man in shock. Like Barry Allen, he sliced the short man within seconds. The short man's last words were, "How is this possible?" Mr. Song thought to himself that it was a stroke of luck that the poison from the 7 treasures rejuvenation powder and the blood demon technique were mutually antagonistic. Thanks to his blood boiling with poison, it stabilized, but he didn't have much time left. Suddenly a voice from above said, "Indeed, the Song family's martial arts are as renowned as their reputation suggests." Mr. Song, in shock, looked up to see a group of 4 figures on the roof. One of them remarked that the short man Mr. Song fought was quite formidable. But what if the 12 ghosts of the demonic society were his opponents? Would he survive? When my cameraman zoomed in on the figures, they consisted of 3 men and a lady in their midst. 2 days ago, the demon sect leader gathered his members and said, "After our defeat in the war, for the past 40 years, our demon sect has been in a humiliating position. You, the demonic society, are the vanguard for our demonic sect's entry into the martial world." The demonic sect leader told his members to bring him the Song family's white jade sword as the first trophy, and that the destruction of the Song family would mark the end of their era of humiliation. He ordered them to destroy everyone and everything in the village. Now, back to the present, Mr. Song said to himself that he had to hang in there just a little bit longer. He then asked, "What are the dogs of the demon sect doing here?" They didn't reply, instead looking at him with zero emotions in their eyes. Then the man with a long moustache said they should kill Mr. Song quickly before their lord arrives. So they all jumped from the roof, aiming to attack Mr. Song. Meanwhile, Baka and Young-ah were still going through the underground passage. After running for a while, Baka said, "Hey big brother, can we go a bit slower?" But Young-ah replied that he should hang in there. Suddenly, Baka fell to the ground. Young-ah asked him what he was doing, and he replied that he didn't want to go. Young-ah insisted, "Get up, we don't have time for this." But Baka maintained he was tired and couldn't go any longer. He said he would wait there for their mum. Angrily, Young-ah dragged him by his arm, forcing him to move. Suddenly, they heard a thudding sound in the passageway. Young-ah wondered what was happening, and before he could reason, Baka said, "Big brother, I can see outside," while pointing in that direction. They peeped through the hole and saw the bodies lying around. Anyone listening would think that Mr. Song would be dead by now. Instead, he was using the members of the demonic sect for sport. Mr. Song had slain 2 out of the 4 demonic sect members, now remaining 2. The hefty man wearing a weird mask jumped into the air, screaming, "Die, Song Bujong!" But before he could land, Mr. Song sliced his arm off as if it were an onion. Upon seeing her comrades taken down one by one, the busty-looking lady joined the fight. My fellow men of culture would be happy to die at the hands of such a pretty lady. She said to Mr. Song, "You are trying so hard even though you are dying. A persistent man is not popular." Then she jumped into the air to attack Mr. Song. But she quickly paused mid-air when she noticed something different about him. She could see the sudden change and massive mana emanating from Mr. Song's body. She remarked that he was on the verge of death, but his overwhelming pressure alone could kill a person. Suddenly a voice from above said, "Foolish fools, I told you that Song Bujong is not an easy opponent." She looked up, and there was their lord, the lord of the 12 ghosts of the demonic society. With a mean look, he commanded the warriors of the demon sect to leave. Then about 10 assassins holding chains descended from the sky to attack Mr. Song. It was a pitiful scene, not for Mr. Song, but for the assassins. He screamed out loud, "This place is going to be your grave. I won't let anyone escape." With lightning flashing from his eyes like Thor, he engaged the assassins in a fearsome battle. Upon seeing this, the busty-looking lady exclaimed, "No way! Is Song Bujong's martial arts this powerful?" She had heard rumors but never thought it would be like this. The Lord of the 12 Ghosts laughed out loud and said, "Mr. Song is just playing with them. He hasn't even gotten serious yet." The busty-looking lady was shocked to hear this. She then said, "My lord, if you could just give us a little more time, we will kill him." But the Lord of the 12 Ghosts unsheathed his sword and said, "Let's see how much you have improved, my old friend." It turned out that Mr. Song and the Lord of the 12 Ghosts were once close friends. He joined the assassins in fighting and said to Mr. Song, "You're still stuck at the 8th rank." As they clashed their swords, the Lord said, "It's been a while, Song Bujong." Mr. Song was shocked to see him, and the Lord of the 12 Ghosts said, "Me fighting you isn't about personal dislike. I hope you're not already out of strength, Song Bujong." They both clashed in a thrilling battle so fast that only the wise could see. The busty-looking lady, watching them fight, thought, "This is unbelievable. Why is their lord using the same martial arts as Mr. Song? Their skills and stances were so similar, as if trained by the same master." The Lord said to Mr. Song, "Your Song family martial arts are still impressive." Mr. Song replied, "How can you say that after fleeing the sect?" The Lord of the 12 Ghosts said, "Yes, I am a mere escapee. A healthy pine holds significance only when it's healthy." And bang, he used his sword to cut through Mr. Song's left hand. Baek-ah screamed out loud upon seeing this from the tunnel's hole. The evil lord heard the scream and looked in the direction of the sound. Tears rolled down from the children's eyes as young Ah covered his younger brother's mouth so the invaders wouldn't hear him. Suddenly, one of the assassins called out to the lord, telling him they had captured Mrs. Song. They surrounded her as she sat on the floor. Mr. Song, upon seeing her, screamed out loud, "Madam, what are you doing here? What about the children? I thought you escaped with them." But Mrs. Song couldn't reply because she did not want the demon sect to chase after the kids. Mrs. Song's hands were tied behind her back, and with a sad look she bent her head. The evil lord then said to her, "It's been a while. I didn't want to meet you like this." With a disgusted look, Mrs. Song replied, "You're still as foolish as ever." She said to the evil lord, "You must have realized by now that you won't gain anything this way, and in the future, you won't achieve anything either." After a short pause, the demon lord replied, "Well, those are some pitiful last words." Upon hearing this, Mr. Song, drained of strength, knew what was about to happen. His eyes shone with fear, and with tears rolling down Mrs. Song's face, she said to her husband, "My heaven, I'm really glad I got to meet you." In an instant, the demon lord killed her. Mr. Song yelled his guts out, consumed with agony as he ran toward her. Mr. Song reached his wife's lifeless body and cradled her in his arms. He then said to the demon lord, "Why did you kill my wife? She had nothing to do with this." The lord replied, "Didn't I tell you? I have no personal grudge against you. You're at fault for possessing something beyond your means and for not having the strength to protect it." With dead eyes, Mr. Song responded, "Is that really the only reason?" Suddenly, purple mana began emanating from Mr. Song's body. With a change in aura, he commanded his sword from a distance, and it came flying towards him. A bang followed, as Mr. Song was covered head to toe in purple mana. This skill was called Shadowless Strike. When the demon lord saw this, he was taken aback. How could he use this powerful technique? The Shadowless Strike is a pinnacle technique that can only be performed at the 9th level of the Song family martial arts. Could his rage have allowed him to break through the barrier from level 8? The demon lord wondered. The demon lord was a little scared, but with a straight face he said, "First of all, I'm afraid your deadly technique won't be able to touch me." Mr. Song yelled, "Silence!" In the blink of an eye he attacked the Lord of the 12 Ghosts. The ground erupted as though an earthquake had struck, but before we knew it, Mr. Song's sword was only an inch away from the demon lord's face. The demon lord said, "I told you, your technique won't reach me." It turned out that the other assassins had used their chains to hold Mr. Song down, stopping him from reaching the demon lord. In the face of death, Mr. Song said, "One day, the children of the Song family will surely cut your neck. I look forward to it." The demon lord replied, and with a bang, he slayed Mr. Song. The demon lord said he never wanted to settle his score with Mr. Song like this, but had no choice, since his superiors had ordered him to annihilate the Song family. A few seconds later, one of the assassins came to tell the demon lord they had discovered a secret passage beneath the Song family residence. A passage," the lord muttered. He thought to himself, indeed, settling a score like this is no fun. He recalled the scream he had heard earlier within the walls and thought it must have come from Song Buzhong's children. Now, he had a more fun way to settle his score with Mr. Song, when the children grew stronger. The Lord of the 12 Zodiac Ghosts told the assassins they would be heading back. "Is it all of us?" one of the assassins asked. The busty lady added, "What do you mean by we are leaving? It's clear that the Song family children fled with the white jade sword and the secret manual. If the higher-ups find out we let them go, there'll be trouble." The demon lord replied, "You do realize that the white jade sword and the Song family's martial arts are merely pretexts, don't you?" The Lord of the 12 Zodiac Ghosts explained that from the beginning, he had no intention of indulging the whims of the higher-ups. The busty lady reminded him that the demon elders wouldn't stay silent about this. With a dry laugh, the demon lord said, "You have to endure that much trouble to savor the joy 10 years from now." Then he began to leave. The busty lady thought to herself, "What the hell is my lord plotting?" She couldn't figure it out, but the Lord of the 12 Zodiac Ghosts knew that 10 years from now, the children of the Song family who survived would surely grow stronger, and that would be the best time to settle his score with the late Mr. Song. Sometime later, in a small wooden hut, Baek-ah cried out, "Why did you do it? Dad was in pain, so why did you run away? Why, big brother? You're strong, so why didn't you help Dad?" Tears rolled down Baek-ah's face and he said, "I can't forgive you, you coward." Young Ah, who had been quiet, hugged his little brother to console him, but Baek-ah angrily pushed him away, calling him a coward. Young Ah didn't let go though. Instead, with tears in his eyes, he promised that as an elder brother, he would definitely avenge their parents. Baek-ah yelled, "We don't need revenge. Let's just go back to Mom and Dad." He cried out like someone who had witnessed his parents' death. A few days later in Beijing, young Ah and his younger brother covered themselves with cloaks as they walked through the city. The once rich young masters were now orphans and hadn't eaten since the previous day. As they walked, Baek-ah couldn't resist the aroma coming from a nearby shop. He glanced in the direction of the smell. Young Ah noticed and asked if he was hungry, but Baek-ah, with a frown, didn't reply. Since that day, Baek-ah had remained silent for several days. Is his heart still not settled? Young Ah wondered. Then, with a sigh, he said, "All right, don't go anywhere and wait here." He told Baek-ah he would go get something to eat. Baek-ah's expression showed he was scared to be alone, but since he was still angry with his elder brother, he couldn't say anything. In his mind, though, he was thinking, "No, big brother, don't leave me alone. I don't need to eat, just stay with me." But young Ah couldn't hear his thoughts, so he was gone. As young Ah went to look for food, he was cornered by some thugs. They noticed the finely wrapped sword that young Ah carried and tried to snatch it from him. He ran as fast as he could, and the thugs chased after him. After running for a while, young Ah managed to put some distance between them. As he tried to catch his breath, he fainted in front of a man and his little disciple. The young girl was worried as she tried to tend to young Ah. Her master then said, "Since my disciple has taken a liking to him, we must save him." The young girl snapped, "Master." The man told her to be quiet now because he wanted to check young Ah's pulse. After checking, the unknown master thought to himself, "Fortunately, this boy just collapsed from exhaustion after using up his energy. Judging by his build, he seems to be the child of a well-trained martial artist. But what could be the story of this child?" The man wondered. All of a sudden, the unknown master saw the symbol from an opening on the sword that young Ah carried. But before he could look further, 3 people appeared, and one of them said, "Finally, we caught you. You sneaky brat." The thug, with a bald head that shone like glass, told the unknown master to hand over the sword, claiming it as his own. The unknown master stood up and replied, "You think this sword is for you?" The bald thug answered, "Yes, it's mine. If you interfere, you won't get away unarmed, old man." The unknown master, with anger and a change in aura, then said, "Do you think the white jade sword, which has taken the lives of countless demon sex scums, belongs to the likes of you?" The unknown master's aura alone pushed the intruders back, and they couldn't move. They exclaimed, "Who the hell is this old man?" Later in the evening, Baek-ah was still staying at the spot where young Ah told him to wait. He held half of the Song family heirloom that was given to him with hope that his brother would use it to find him. A few days earlier, after escaping from the massacre of the demon sect, they made a camp in an open space in the forest. Baek-ah quietly sat on a log of wood, while young Ah roamed about to keep watch. Baek-ah didn't want to speak with young Ah. Instead, he muttered to himself, "What are you doing? I'm trying to sleep, but you are so noisy as you walk about." Young Ah said they needed to be quiet, because there might still be some demon sect pursuers, yet he was the loudest one there. Baek-ah watched his big brother, but when he noticed that young Ah was about to turn around, he dodged and pretended that he didn't want to see his big brother. He muttered again that he would never forgive his coward brother. Young Ah walked toward Baek-ah, and with a thud, he broke the pendant and gave one half to Baek-ah. Young Ah told his little brother that it was the Song's family heirloom, the dragon emblem, and if they were to part ways, that was the only thing that would remain. He sat down on the same log of wood and told Baek-ah that he would never abandon him. Now back to the present, Baek-ah was still waiting for young Ah since he left. He cried, feeling that his big brother had abandoned him. Then he cleaned his tears and stood up to venture on his own. Coincidentally, the unknown master, who had taken the unconscious young Ah in his carriage to treat him, passed by Baek-ah but didn't see him. After walking for a while, Baek-ah concluded that his big brother had abandoned him. Dear listeners, I want to introduce you all to the 4 sages of Jungho. In the 40 Years' War between the righteous sect and the demonic sect, the 4 sages of Jianghu referred to the 4 strongest masters of the righteous sects who distinguished themselves on the battlefield during that war. After the war of the righteous and demonic sects, the 4 sages retired and established an academy, such as the Murim Academy. This is the sacred ground of the righteous sects. It turns out that the unknown master who saved young Ah is one of the 4 sages of the righteous sects. At the Murim School of Medicine, in a room with 2 doctors, the unknown master and his disciple, young Ah was being treated with bandages wrapped all over his body. He begged them to let him go, saying that his younger brother was waiting for him. The unknown master said that he was sorry. If he had known he had a younger brother, he wouldn't have brought him in rashly. He urged young Ah not to worry, stating that he had sent people to look for Baek Ah, so they should just wait for now. With tears rolling down his cheeks, young Ah said that he needed to go quickly. His younger brother was waiting for him. The unknown master, with a reassuring tone, said, "Don't worry, I will definitely find your brother." He swore on the name of the 4 sages of Jianghu. The little girl added, "That's true, my master never lies." After hearing that, young Ah calmed down. A few hours later at night, young Ah sneaked out of the Murim Academy to look for his brother. As he was leaving, he thought to himself that although the promise of one of the 4 sages is absolute, there is no time to waste, so he left. Some time later, after running some distance, young Ah wondered just how deep they were in the mountains. He had been running for a while, yet he still had not sighted any flat land. Now he understood why the location of the Murim Academy wasn't known in Jianghu. As he continued running, he saw a man approaching from a distance. He was shocked to see the man with 3 swords, 3 blades, and an unusual outfit. Young Ah felt he had heard about this man before. In any case, he must be a martial artist, so young Ah decided to act naturally. He believed that there shouldn't be any evildoers near the academy. As he passed the man, the mysterious figure said, "Nice sword." Young Ah was shocked that the man could see his sword even when it was tied up. With a bang, young Ah unsheathed his sword and pointed it at the man. But the man was unfazed. He then said, "What are you trying to do? I was just praising your sword." Young Ah replied, "That's what everyone says when they try to get their hands on my sword." Young Ah told the man to seal his own pressure point, then he would sheath his sword and quietly leave. The weird man, laughing, said to young Ah that there seemed to be some misunderstanding, as he had plenty of swords, so he wouldn't want to steal young Ah's own. Young Ah, who wasn't buying his excuses, said, "Shut up and seal your pressure points now." With a change in expression, the man replied that young Ah was such an impatient fellow, and bang, with just the tip of his fingers, he sent young Ah and his sword flying some distance away. After flying away, young Ah tried to regain his balance, and thought to himself, "This man is unbelievable. The sheer power of his empty hand sword technique is formidable." The empty hand technique is a method to counter swords with bare hands. The man, without looking back, told young Ah that since his sword didn't fall from his hands, it must be very precious to him. Young Ah was stunned to hear that the man knew about his white jade sword. No ordinary person could know the sword without seeing it up close, so he wondered who this man was. A few years ago, when Mr. Song was still alive, he told the 2 children that their grandfather was a hero of the war between the righteous and demonic sects. Their grandfather, along with the 4 sages of Jianghu, saved Murim, and that's how the white jade sword became an heirloom after being used to cut down countless demonic sect members. Especially since their grandfather faced life and death, alongside the great hero known as Han Hyun. Mr. Song told them that their grandfather was strong, but it's said that the great hero Han Hyun's strength was unparalleled, being one of the great sages of Jianghu. Baek Ah asked Mr. Song if Han Hyun was the strongest fighter. Mr. Song came close and said, "Yes, that's why after the war between the righteous and demonic sects, there's a saying among the demonic members that goes, if you encounter Han Hyun, the 3 swords and blades, you must run away immediately." Back to the present, young Ah was sweating as he realized who the man was. How did I not realize, he thought. It's not common to see Jianghu martial artists carrying 3 swords and blades. And if my guess is correct, this man is definitely the unrivaled Han Hyun. The man then said to young Ah that he didn't know what his circumstances were. But the number of people who survived after holding a knife to his neck were few. Young Ah said to himself that, although the man looked young, he was definitely the rejuvenated great hero Han Hyun. And since running away is useless against him, what should I do? Han Hyun was amused, saying to himself, "Look at this small boy, he must have figured out who I am, but he still has determination in his eyes." Young Ah had piqued his interest for the first time in a while. He then said to Young Ah, "If you can make me draw either my sword or blade within 20 seconds, I'll let you go. However, if you fail, I will take you in as my disciple." Young Ah was shocked at the offer. Both options seemed good, if it were anyone else. Han Hyun noticed Young Ah's expression and asked if he was thrilled at the prospect of becoming his disciple. He told Young Ah not to worry, as he would make him the greatest martial artist in the world to carry on his legacy. But Young Ah wasn't interested in Han Hyun's chatter. Instead, he told Han Hyun that he must keep his promise. Han Hyun was shocked that Young Ah turned down the offer to be his disciple. Young Ah drew his sword and told Han Hyun that if he made him draw one of his swords within 20 seconds, he must promise to let him go. After that, no one knew what happened. There was no information about whether Young Ah later found his brother. All that was known was, 2 years later in a market, a man handed a sack of money to an elderly man to pay for some goods. The old man, with a dry laugh, said, "My friend, how can you pay before even checking the goods?" The buyer responded, "There's no need since old Master O's goods are always perfect." Master O then called out to Baek-ah to bring the goods over. Baek-ah brought the goods and asked where to place them, and they directed him. As he was arranging the goods, the young man said to Master O, "How time flies. It was about 2 years ago, right? When you brought Baek-ah child here. Back then, I was worried because the child was so frail, to think he'd grow up quickly is a surprise. But whether then or now, Baek-ah has remained silent and doesn't talk much." Later in the evening, after sales were over, Master O rode on a bull while Baek-ah walked alongside him. As they were going, Master O thought to himself that ever since he found Baek-ah on the streets, he seemed different from ordinary children, no matter how you looked at it. Judging by his build, he appeared to be the child of a martial artist, but Master O wasn't sure since Baek-ah never shared his story. Master O then said, "Songbaek, don't you want to go home, like to your real parents?" After a short pause, Baek-ah replied, "No, this is my home now." Upon arriving at Master O's house, they found multiple martial art warriors stationed there, with a huge man wearing a hat standing behind them. Master O was shocked to see him, as it seemed he knew them, and said, "Ah, what brings you here without prior notice?" The man raised his head and replied, "It's been a long time, Master O." The man was the martial arts general of the Dongbang clan, called Dongbang Chunhu. Upon seeing his face, Master O quickly bowed, alongside Baek-ah. While bowing, Master O said, "Elder, please accept my greetings." Suddenly, a young girl came out and said to Master, "Oh, Grandpa, I'm here too." But Baek-ah was stunned and speechless to see such beauty, and the young lady was also surprised to see someone her age. She asked who he was. After they greeted, Baek-ah left the adults to talk and went to a nearby tree to sit. As he sat down, he saw a carriage approaching, and he remembered that they once had a carriage before the downfall of their family. While deep in thought, a voice from a distance asked what he was doing there. Baek-ah was stunned to hear the voice, and when he looked back, it was the pretty girl who was with the general. With a smile, the girl said hello to him. She said her name was Dongbang Ri, and asked Baek-ah what his name was. But Baek-ah was speechless and couldn't reply. The bodyguard following the girl, in a thick tone, told Baek-ah to respond when someone calls him. Suddenly, Dongbang Ri went toward Baek-ah. The bodyguard tried calling her back, but it was to deaf ears. She had to chase her dreams. She sat down with a little smirk on her face. Baek-ah was so shocked to see this, his face turning all red. She decided to tell Baek-ah again that her name was Dongbang Ri. She was 9 years old, and she asked for his name. Baek-ah muttered to himself that she was pretty, up close, and he then told her that his name was Song-baek, and he was 11 years old. Dongbang Ri responded, "Oh, you are my elder brother." She apologized, maybe for shooting her shot, but Baek-ah's heart almost left his chest upon hearing her call him elder brother. The pretty girl said that since Baek-ah was older than her, he should call her Ri-mei from now on. Baek-ah wasn't sure if he could call her that because her name was Ri, and adding Mei is a term of endearment used to address a younger sister. Lady Ri, while kneeling, decided to shorten Baek-ah's name to Song-ga. She asked Baek-ah if he was feeling sick since his face had been so red, and she touched his face to check his temperature. Meanwhile, the bodyguard was fuming with anger and broke his spear with his fingers. How dare that little kid Baekar laugh and chat with the young lady? It turned out that Dongbang-ri was the pinnacle of countless armies and wealth. With over 1 million soldiers under her command, she held power second only to the emperor himself, and she was the only daughter of Grand Marshal Dongbang Chunhu. The bodyguard was confused and surprised at the same time when he saw Lady Rai laughing. He couldn't remember the last time he had seen her laugh genuinely, perhaps since her mother passed away. He thought to himself that all the soldiers would love to see this kind of smile from the young lady. The bodyguard had been worried when Lady Ri insisted on coming along on this trip, but it seemed to have turned out well. After a few chats and a little romance, Lady Ri entered her carriage. From the window she called out to Baek-ah, telling him they should play again next time. Although the bodyguard cautioned her that it was dangerous to stick her head out of a moving carriage, she kept waving at Baek-ah until they left. As they left, Baek-ah, with a smile, said to himself that Dongbang-ri was such a peculiar child. Suddenly, Master O came to spoil the mood by teasing Baek-ah, saying, "Oh, you can smile too." But Baek-ah turned his face away, saying, "No." Master O informed Baek-ah that he and Dongbang-ri would be able to see each other again in a month's time, and thanks to that, Baek-ah would be very busy starting tomorrow. Master O told Baek-ah it was cold, and they should go inside. Baek-ah ran after him. Dear listeners, Master O is a swordsmith, which is why General Dongbang Chunhu came to visit him. As they went inside, Master O began working on a very long and huge sword, which seemed like General Dongbang Chunhu's. Baek-ah came over, telling him he brought some water for the smoothing of the sword, and Master O commended him. Then he told Baek-ah to come closer, as he wanted to show him something. He showed Baek-ah the long sword and told him that this was what they would be preparing starting today. Master O asked Baek-ah if it was the first time he had seen something other than farm tools, but without a second thought, Baek-ah replied, "It's a sword." Master O was surprised by his answer. He thought to himself, how could Baek-ah distinguish between a sword and a blade at a glance despite only seeing farm tools for 2 years? Baek-ah never spoke about his past or his family, but Master O suspected he was a child of a martial arts family, and not an ordinary one at that. On the other hand, Baek-ah folded his arms in anger, and, after a short pause, said to himself that he didn't realize it when he was younger, but now he understood why his family had ended up that way. Baek-ah concluded that it was because of this wretched piece of metal called a sword. With anger, Baek-ah was about to speak his thoughts aloud, but Master O, who seemed to have noticed, cut him off and said, "A sword is just a sword." Baek-ah was stunned by the statement and asked Master O what he meant by that. Master O responded, "If an evildoer uses a sword, it becomes an evil weapon. But if a chivalrous warrior uses it, then it becomes a good weapon." Master O told Baek-ah that the sword they were forging now commanded millions of troops and protected them from northern enemies. Master O placed the forged sword in water to cool off and said, "Baek-ah, how can you live if all you harbor is resentment?" He then told Baek-ah to live his life while looking forward. Many days passed after Master O repaired the general's sword. As Baek-ah was carrying a bucket of water, he said to himself that he still didn't understand Master O's words from that day, "Live while looking forward." What exactly did it mean, Baek-ah wondered. However, he understood that Master O truly cared for him, and there hadn't been many people who treated him sincerely. Baek-ah remembered his father and mother, who cared for him and treated him well, and also that peculiar child, Dongbang-ri. With a smirk, Baek-ah hoped to meet her again in a few days' time. By now, he had reached their house and alerted Master O that he was back. Suddenly, Baek-ah dropped a pail of water. With a bang, he saw that Master O was lying lifelessly on the floor. He yelled, "Grandfather!" and rushed toward him. Although Master O was already too old and frail, can our big bro just rest? A few minutes later, a doctor came to check on Master O as they laid him on the bed. The doctor examined Master O but didn't say a word. With worry, Baek-ah yelled out the doctor's name, demanding to know what was going on. The doctor handed Baek-ah a sack containing medicine and told him to boil it and give it to Master O twice a day. Baek-ah took it and asked if it would make him better, but the doctor responded that the drugs would only ease Master O's pain. Upon hearing this, Baek-ah felt as if his spirit had left him, realizing that Master O couldn't be saved. As the doctor was leaving, he told Baek-ah that Master O was a good man and should be buried in a good place. Uncontrollable tears rolled down Baek-ah's face at the sad news. Back in the house, old Master O woke up and, using most of his strength, got up. After a short silence, Master O looked up at the ceiling and said that even the heavens are indifferent. If only he could have held on until the general's sword was completed. He felt sorry for Baek-ah. Suddenly, he heard a clanking sound like someone was fighting. Wondering who it could be, he went toward the noise. To his surprise, he found Baek-ah completing the general's sword, which his old bones couldn't carry on with. As Baek-ah wielded the sword, tears rolled down his face. He said to himself that everyone was dying again because he was powerless. His dad, mom, brother, and now Master O were leaving him because he was powerless. With rage, he kept hitting the sword like it was some rival's girlfriend. Baek-ah vowed that he wouldn't let anyone go like this again. Never again would he let anyone leave him. Master O entered the swordsmith room, watching Baek-ah, who hadn't noticed his presence. About 2 years ago, a doctor had told Master O that he probably wouldn't live more than a year, and that he should let go of everything and live comfortably. But Master O never really had any regrets about life. However, the sorrowful eyes of Baek-ah, a poor orphan, moved him deeply. He thought it was the whim of an old man nearing death, believing he had taken Baek-ah in. But it turned out that Baek-ah had taken him in. As these pitiful thoughts ended, Master O, still standing at the swordsmith's entrance, asked Baek-ah if he thought the sword would shatter that easily with the way he was hitting it. Shocked to see him, Baek-ah replied, "Grandfather." Master O called Baek-ah a loud child, saying he had nearly scared him. Baek-ah asked Master O if he was all right, telling him what the doctor said. Master O responded that the doctor was a quack because 2 years ago, that same doctor said he was on the verge of death, but here he is, with only a few bones falling off. Master O, with a faint smile, urged Baek-ah not to worry, saying that he's still with him. After hearing this, Baek-ah's face lit up with hope, and then, bang, Master O reprimanded Baek-ah for laughing, even after he tried to break a treasured sword earlier. Baek-ah, a little scared, replied that he was only trying to complete the sword. Master O, with a warm smile, responded that he was joking and commended him, saying that he managed to make quite a good sound from the sword. Baek-ah was relieved to hear this, and it seemed he was truly getting better at swordsmithing. Master O then said to Baek-ah that he would be the one to finish the general's sword. He was stunned and asked if the old man was serious. Master O said that Baek-ah couldn't keep doing menial jobs and that he believed Baek-ah could now handle an advanced job like swordsmithing. Baek-ah's hands were shaking, and just like someone who had won a single bet after losing millions, Baek-ah rejoiced that he was finally recognized for something too. The basics of forging a sword are temperature and continuous refining. Master O watched Baek-ah as he completed the sword, and as he sat he said to himself, "Song-Baek, repairing a sword is a series of tedious processes. Life is much the same. If you endure through all the monotonous and boring times." Master O's eyes closed as he said these words, and then he bent his head lifelessly as he sat. Meanwhile, Baek-ah didn't hear him because he was busy hammering the sword. After a while, he heard the sound of metal fusing together, which meant the sword was complete. Baek-ah rejoiced and screamed for the old man, saying that he had finished the sword. But as he turned back, he was shocked to see that Master O had died while sitting in his chair. Baek-ah was at a loss for words. He approached Master O, hoping he was just sleeping, and touched the old man's warm body, telling him that he had finished the sword. But there was no reply. Upon realizing that Master O was truly dead, Song-Baek screamed in anguish, not just for Master O's death, but for the realization that everyone who had ever loved him was leaving. The next morning, General Dongbang Chunhu and Lady Ri were coming to visit Master O. Lady Ri, with glee in her eyes, looked out the window and asked how much longer it would be before she saw Song-Baek. General Dongbang asked if she missed Song-Baek that much, and her facial expression gave the answer. General Dongbang, while touching his beard, said to himself that his daughter seemed to be fond of Song-Baek. That little brat. After a few more horse strides, Lady Ri screamed that she had seen Song-Baek. They got down from the carriage, and she shouted Song-Baek's name, telling him that it is her, Remei. But as she got closer, she was perplexed by Song-Baek's state. He held the general's sword with dead eyes as he sat pitifully on the floor. Master O, who had taken him in, was dead. After a period of sorrow, General Dongbang and his soldiers buried Master O, and his tomb was inscribed, "The tomb of the great blacksmith, O Jong Dong." By then, Lady Ri was already teary-eyed, and within a few seconds of holding back, she began crying out loud. Her bodyguard told her that it was cold and that they should head back to the carriage for now. As they left, she cried that Song Baek was so pitiful and alone. After a short pause, General Dongbang sighed and said to himself that now it was too late. He wanted to repay Master O the debt he owed him, even if it was overdue, if only he had found Master O who left the army a bit sooner. General Dongbang said to himself that Song Baek had said he completed the sword by himself, and judging by the way he wrote Master O's epitaph as well, he seemed quite literate. The general turned to him and asked if his name was Song Baek. He replied yes. General Dongbang asked him if he would like to come with them, since he had nowhere else to go. After a short pause, Song Baek didn't reply. He thought to himself that everyone who took him in had left. He didn't want to be abandoned ever again. With a look that could kill, he thanked the general for the offer, but declined to go with them. After a short silence, General Dongbang said it was a shame since Song Baek was a talented boy. He told Song Baek that if it was his choice not to follow them, then he should take care, and he turned to leave. Suddenly, Lady Ri came running and bang, she held Song Baek's hands, telling him to come with them. There is so much power in a lady's plea, for real. A few minutes later, as they were going back to the Dongbang residence, we saw our protagonist on one of their horses, going with them. As they traveled, he reflected on how Lady Ri had begged him to come. He felt it was likely pity, the naive pity of a young girl, but the warmth of her tiny delicate hands was something Song Baek had always longed for. Though he reluctantly followed Lady Ri's insistence, and as Song Baek was lost in thought, the bodyguard announced they had arrived and told him to get down. Song Baek got down from the horse, and when he looked up, he opened his mouth in awe. He was like, "So this is Dongbang Ri's house." The house was so big that even Googleplex in California would feel ashamed next to it. They entered the mansion and a lady said, "Welcome back, master." It was Lady Ri's nanny who ran to hug her upon seeing her. After that, about 100 maids echoed, "Welcome back." Song Baek, upon seeing this, was perplexed. It was so incredible. He thought their Song family residence was fairly large, but it didn't compare to the Dongbang residence. After a short silence, the maid asked her master who the boy was, and Lady Ri replied that he is her Song Baek. Both the nanny and the maids were shocked that Lady Ri had nicknamed the boy already. General Dongbang, with a commanding voice, said that Song Baek was a child he had brought with him. This caused the maids to murmur, as this was the first time ever. The general turned to Lady Ri's bodyguard, Moyoung, and told him that from now on, he would be responsible for Song Baek. Moyoung was like, "What?" General Dongbang, with a scary face, asked if Moyoung wasn't going to do what he said, and Moyoung, while trembling, said he didn't mind. Then, the general left. The general left. Moyoung told Song Baek to follow him, and as they were leaving, Moyoung sighed and said to himself that with all his experience, now he was babysitting Song Baek. A few years later, as Song Baek was walking, he said to himself that back then, when General Dongbang brought him into the residence, he didn't understand why everyone was so shocked, but now he understood. Bringing a child into the Dongbang family, which had no heir, meant bringing in a successor. Our protagonist, all grown up and fresh looking like me, walked up the stairs leading to the training ground. Moyoung, who took over the general's position when Dongbang Chunhu retired, said to Song Baek that he was late. Song Baek replied that he was late because he had to escort Lady Ri. He was like, "General Moyoung, let's begin." "You rascal, I told you to call me brother," General Moyoung said. Song Baek responded that he's sorry, but he finds it hard to follow that order above all else. Then he stood in a pose ready for great achievement. General Moyoung asked if he's preparing well for the martial arts examination. Song Baek replied that he has been training daily with Kang Salku's technique. "Good. Then let's see how much you have improved," General Moyoung said as he attacked Song Baek. Song Baek blocked all his attacks like they were my girlfriend's bills. The technique General Moyoung was using to fight Song Baek is definitely Kang Salku's style. This basic spear technique is the 6 harmonies technique, improved with energy alignment while on horseback. As they fought, Song Baek was blocking all of General Moyoung's attacks, so he snapped and asked, "How long will you just keep blocking?" With a smirk, Song Baek said to himself that it seems the general is getting a bit heated, and in that case, it's time for him to attack. After a few sword clashes, General Moyoung was panting, and told Song Baek that he has gotten quite strong. With a change in aura, General Moyoung said there's no other way but for him to use his ultimate skill. Then he swung the wooden spear at the speed of a helicopter blade. He told Song Bake to try to dodge it as he attacked, and bang! The attack sent Song Bake flying meters away. General Moyoung wasn't done yet. With a proud grin, he asked Song Bake, "What's the matter? Where did all your confidence from a moment ago go?" Song Bake was like, "What is this? This isn't Salku's technique, is it?" General Moyoung asked Song Bake if he thinks enemies on the battlefield will fight according to the training manual. He told him that Kang Salku's technique is merely the basic stage to pass the martial arts examination, and there won't be enemies who will fight exactly as they trained. He reminded Song Bake not to forget the reason for his existence, and as he charged up his skills, General Moyoung attacked Song Bake again. Song Bake blocked it, but the weight of the attack was immense, and at this rate, his weapon wouldn't stand it. Bang! His wooden spear broke into two. This technique, without a doubt, was the battlefield spear technique. As Song Bake's mind raced with thoughts, General Moyoung told him it's not over yet, and launched another attack. Song Bake, on the other hand, dropped the other half of his broken spear, now holding only one. The general, whose attack was already in motion, was shocked to see this. Without realizing it, he aimed to kill, and now he couldn't stop his own attack. He yelled at Song Bake to evade, and bang! All we saw was smoke and dust. As it cleared, Song Bake blocked the deadly attack, with just the tip of his broken spear like some martial arts lord. He used the Song family technique that his father taught him when he was younger, and the general opened his mouth in awe. A few minutes later, after the training, Song Bake leaned on the wall, waiting for someone. He brought out the Song family heirloom, which he had kept since his brother left him. Song Bake never wanted to remember, neither the Song family technique nor the heirloom. Suddenly, Lady Ri, who had grown in all parts of her body, especially her chest, said to Song Bake that it's been a long time since she saw the necklace with him. Song Bake quickly hid it and asked her if she's already done with what she was doing. Lady Ri didn't reply. With her face all red, she frowned like an annoyed girlfriend, then turned back and said she must have mistaken Song Bake for someone else. He was confused and asked her what's wrong, wondering if he did something that annoyed her. With a sharp look, she turned back and asked, "Did you really not understand, Master Song?" Lady Ri said it had been so long since she was out, but this was just great. The person she was supposed to meet didn't even show up. Song Bake was speechless for a while, then he called her Ri-mei. Lady Ri was shocked to hear the name only Song Bake could call her. With a smirk, she asked him to repeat what he just called her, teasing that she couldn't hear him well. Song Bake, with his face all red, told her they should stop joking around and to give him a break. He told her they would get scolded by the nanny if Lady Ri hugged him whenever she wanted. And bang! Lady Ri held Song Bake, pulling his hand so close to her chest. Song Bake blushed and was perplexed at the same time. He stammered, "What are you doing, Ri-mei?" Lady Ri asked him, "What's the big deal? You've given me piggyback rides before." Song Bake replied, "That was when we were still kids." And Lady Ri asked him what he thinks of her now. For a while Song Bake couldn't reply, because he knew she was confessing her feelings to him. Then he remembered when he was newly brought to the Dongbang residence, the old nanny warned him not to get any ideas. She told him that the other servants might think he was adopted as a son, but he was just a plaything for Lady Ri. So she told him that he must and should only act like a plaything, and Song Bake promised to keep that in mind. Now, back to the present, Lady Ri went closer to Song Bake and asked what he thought about her now. After a pause, Song Bake bent his back for her to hop on so he could give her a piggyback ride. Lady Ri, with fret, asked what he was doing. Song Bake replied, "It's obvious. You asked me how I feel, and I still think of Ri-mei as a kid. Come to think of it, I don't mind giving you a piggyback ride." Song Bake's statement really got her angry, and in anger she said, "Enough, I'll go by myself." But he chased after her, saying he'd give her a piggyback ride. She insisted he shouldn't follow her, but Song Bake, our guy, knows how to roll with a lady, so he tagged along. On the other hand, the old nanny had been listening to their conversations, and as they left, she thought to herself that it seems Song Bake is aware of his situation, thankfully. However, Lady Ri's feelings for him are the problem. A few minutes later, Lady Ri and Song Bake went onto a crossover bridge. She gleefully told him to look at the sunset, it was so beautiful. As Song Bake watched her, he thanked goodness that Lady Ri cheered up so quickly. Seeing how she changes so fast, it's remarkable. Dongbang Ri is one of the only two people who treated him well without expecting anything in return, even though he couldn't protect Master O. With firm resolve, Song Baek promised that he would definitely protect Ri-mei. Meanwhile, there was a creepy guy admiring Lady Ri's beauty from the foot of the bridge with his 2 creepy bodyguards. The creepy guy muttered, "Is there such a pretty girl in this area?" The guards asked if they should bring her to him, but the guy replied, "No, a beauty like her shouldn't be enjoyed just once. Besides, she seems to be from a well-off family." The creepy guy licked his lips like a pervert and told the guards to find out where she lives. Outside the emperor's palace, Grand Marshal and former General Dongbang Chunhu was kneeling, waiting for the emperor's orders. General Moyang told him to please get up. He had been kneeling for hours, but the emperor had not answered him. Dongbang Chunhu didn't budge. Instead, he asked General Moyang if he didn't realize that defying the emperor's decree was considered treason. He told General Moyang that if he couldn't bear to wait, he should go back home. General Moyang gritted his teeth and said the Grand Marshal should go to the throne room immediately. He mentioned that the emperor was currently lost in the indulgence created by his advisor, Jiang Maso, and couldn't escape. It was hard to tell whether it was Jiang Maso or the emperor who truly ruled from the throne. Dongbang Chunhu cautioned him to mind his reckless words. The Grand Marshal told the general that Jiang Maso was always waiting to undermine his authority and would exploit even the smallest mistake to topple him. He added that the emperor is intelligent, and no matter how much Jiang Maso tries to deceive him with crafty words, he will eventually see the truth. Until then, the Grand Marshal said he would wait. Inside the emperor's throne room, the emperor's advisor Jiang Maso sat on the throne. General Song reported to Jiang Maso that the Grand Marshal was still waiting for the emperor's command, and they couldn't come up with any more excuses to delay him. Jiang Maso laughed. "Oh, he's still waiting outside. What an ignorant officer." Advisor Jiang Maso decided to wrap up whatever secret meeting he was having on the emperor's throne. He used the emperor's royal stamp to approve a decree, which one of the eunuchs took out. General Song informed Jiang Maso that he shouldn't provoke the Grand Marshal any further, because if he discovered that the emperor was gravely ill and wasn't the one ruling, his 3,000 troops of Liadong would march toward the imperial palace. Jiang Maso told General Song that he worried too much. Pulling out the Liadong army would be as good as handing the country over to the barbarians, and no one knew this better than the Grand Marshal. As he sipped his tea, Jiang Maso remarked that Dongbang Chunhu's deep affection would lead to the downfall of his family. In the Dongbang residence, Lady Ri was sewing some clothes when she looked out the window and saw that it was raining for the 3rd time that day. Meanwhile, a man with 2 bodyguards was approaching the Dongbang residence. As my cameraman zoomed closer, it was none other than the creepy guy from the previous day. He complained to his guards, "Of all days, this damn rain has to fall when I'm going to get a new bride." One of the bodyguards asked if they should get him new shoes. He replied, "No. This rain and the mud on my shoes will make my sincere feelings even more evident." As they arrived at the Dongbang residence, 2 guards stopped them, saying that the Dongbang residence wasn't a place just anyone could enter. The creepy guy in blue told them he wasn't just anyone. He ordered one of his bodyguards, and the guard brought out the Chancellor's token. The soldiers guarding the gate were surprised to realize who the creepy guy was, the son of the Minister of Revenue, YG. One of the creepy guy's bodyguards tapped the soldiers on the shoulder and told them to be thankful their master was in a good mood. Then they entered the mansion freely, as if it were their home, while the powerless soldiers watched them. Meanwhile, our protagonist was training under the rain. Lady Ri kept calling him, but he pretended not to hear. He continued training with some anger, remembering what the nanny said, that he must never forget his place, restricting him from telling Lady Ri how he truly felt. As he was training, Hans thinking nothing but thoughts, he turned around just to see Lady Ri standing all drenched with an umbrella. He quickly went to clean the water off her face and asked her why she came to the training grounds. If she catches a cold, Song Baek would be the one getting scolded by the old nanny. Lady Ri replied that it was raining so hard she wanted to give him an umbrella. Then, he suddenly started splashing water. After a short silence, Song Baek remembered a similar event from when they were younger. Lady Ri was crying because of Song Baek training so hard. Now, looking at how much she has grown, Song Baek smirked and wondered why these old memories were coming back. Then he burst into laughter, which made my cousin laugh too. Lady Ri snapped and asked him what was so funny. Song Baek looked at her chest and thought to himself that, though she's grown now, she's still a child at heart. He wondered what he was even imagining all this time, so he decided to be happy with how things are now. Song Baek, with a grin, told Lady Ri that they should go inside before she catches a cold. "Whose fault is that?" Lady Ri asked. Suddenly the creepy guy came and said, "Ha! I finally found you." After a short silence, Lady Ri asked who he was and reminded him that their residence isn't a place where outsiders can come freely. The creepy guy said Lady Ri calling him an outsider was quite disappointing. After all, they are about to become family. Lady Ri was shocked by his statement and asked what he meant by that. The creepy guy replied that he had seen her by chance a few days ago during a nighttime outing. He said he found her captivating and wanted to share an intimate moment, but decided it wasn't gentlemanly. So, he came to propose instead. He added that no dowry was necessary, as his father is the Minister of Revenue, Lee Taejung. As he yapped non-stop, Song Baek told him to get lost. After a short pause, the creepy guy asked him to repeat what he said. Song Baek told him to get lost again. The creepy guy, now enraged, said Song Baek had been bothering him for a while. "Who exactly are you?" Song Baek couldn't reply because, for now, he didn't know where he stood or who he really was. He began having memories of what the old nanny told him when he was small, that he should never forget why they took him in. Song Baek stammered, and as he was about to reply, Lady Ri echoed, "He is my beloved." Song Baek was shocked to hear her say it out loud. Lady Ri said she had loved him since the moment they first met, and she always would. Wait guys, I can't leave you all on a cliffhanger, so let's continue. After confessing her feelings, Song Baek kept staring at her. Lady Ri said he should stop staring like that, it made her feel embarrassed. Song Baek thought to himself that he had a vague sense of her feelings, but hearing it directly made him feel shy. Suddenly, the creepy guy, who had been watching their romantic scene, laughed out loud. "These filthy brats, are they joking?" he said. Then he ordered one of his guards to teach the lowly commoners the proper order of social ranks. The bodyguard replied, "Yes, sir," and in a flash, he attacked. Song Baek told Lady Ri to run to the main house. She didn't listen and hesitated. Song Baek urged her to go and bang, she was shocked to see Song Baek knocked down by the guard. She screamed his name. Song Baek, who couldn't be taken down easily, told her to hurry and escape, but before he could speak further, the guard stomped on his chest, making blood come out of his mouth. The guard, smirking, asked Song Baek if he used Kang Salku's technique. He told him he'd made some progress, but it was still just for the martial arts examination, and it wouldn't work against a royal guard. It turned out both bodyguards following the creepy guy were royal guards. Lady Ri screamed at seeing Song Baek bleed. The creepy guy said they were finally in their rightful place. Lady Ri retorted that he intruded into someone else's home and caused trouble, and she would never let this go unpunished. The creepy guy approached Lady Ri and asked her what she would do if she didn't let it go. "Will you spread the word that the daughter of Dongbang residence is in love with her servant, bringing shame to her family?" Lady Ri was stunned and couldn't reply. The creepy guy said he originally intended to make her his official wife, but he'd forgive her if she agreed to be his concubine. Before he could continue yapping, Lady Ri gave him a deafening slap that could reset a man's future. She said, "How dare you, do you even know where you are?" And bang, the creepy guy kicked her in the stomach, making her fall hard to the ground. Upon seeing this, Song Baek screamed, but he couldn't do much with a sword to his neck. The guard restrained him and told him not to move if he didn't want to lose his head. The creepy guy, holding his face, asked Lady Ri if she dared to slap him. Lady Ri, in turn, said he would pay for this. With zero emotion in his eyes, a silly thought came to the creepy guy's mind. He laughed like a menace and told the guard to hand him a knife. The guard warned him not to do what he was about to do, but the creepy guy told him to shut up and give him the knife. He said he wouldn't kill her. After taking the knife, he unsheathed it and, with a psychotic expression, told Lady Ri that her face was quite valuable, and he wanted to see how proud she would remain with a scar on her pretty face. The other guard thought the young master was going too far. They were only ordered to threaten Dongbang Chunhu's daughter, and they needed to stop this crazy guy. The creepy guy approached Lady Ri, pointing the knife at her. He told her not to move, or she might hurt herself. Lady Ri made a sad face as she sat on the floor, and the creepy guy laughed, saying, "Now that's a face worth looking at." He urged her to cry a bit more to make sure he was satisfied. On the other hand, Song Baek, with a sword at his neck, gritted his teeth with dead eyes. He swore to protect Lady Ri and to keep her bright smile safe. In his anger, he didn't mind the sword at his neck and began forcing it through, making blood pour out. The guard restraining him wondered what he was trying to do. Though Song Baek was a minor warrior, Killing a member of the Dongbang family would cause big trouble, so the guard loosened his grip a bit. The guard was distracted for a second, and looking at the creepy guy, he said they had to intervene before Dongbang Ri was harmed. But when he looked back, Song Baek had snatched his sword. He yelled for them to stop him. The other guard insulted his colleague, calling him a fool. How could a royal guard lose his weapon? Meanwhile, Song Baek, driven by adrenaline, ran forward with bloodlust. The other guard stood in a defensive pose, saying he would show Song Baek the true power of royal martial arts. He taunted that a kid wielding a sword was not simply holding it. As he felt he had Song Baek's weak spot, he was shocked to see his attack blocked. Suddenly, Song Baek used his Song family's secret techniques, standing in the stance of a pine tree with green mana emanating from his body. He easily bypassed the second guard, aiming for the creepy guy who is the ultimate side character. The guard screamed for the master to escape. The creepy guy turned to see the commotion, and bang, all he could see was his head falling off his shoulders. A few minutes later, after the rage had left his eyes, Song Baek dropped the sword, trembling at the realization that he had killed someone. He still couldn't believe it, repeatedly asking himself if it was true. Meanwhile, the other guard, watching from a distance, was shocked to see that their master was really dead. In anger, he attacked Song Baek from behind, yelling that Song Baek was going to pay for what he had done. He used his ultimate skill, capable of killing an ordinary warrior in one go. But before he could get near Song Baek, General Moyoung blocked and used his skill, Displacement Slash, to counterattack. He delivered a powerful blow to the guard's stomach, sending him flying. After that, General Moyoung demanded to know what the emperor's lackeys were doing in the Dongbang residence. As the guard fell, he wondered what the general who had taken over Dongbang Chunhu was doing here at this time. Not being impartial, General Moyoung turned to Song Baek and struck him with his spear, sending him flying. Walking up to Song Baek, he asked if he realized what he had just done. Song Baek, still stunned, stammered, and couldn't reply. In anger, General Moyoung stretched out his hand to slap him, but before he could reach his face, Lady Ri blocked his hand, telling him that Song Baek had done nothing wrong, he was only trying to protect her. General Moyoung insisted on reprimanding Song Baek, but Lady Ri kept begging him, with tears rolling down her face. Seeing this, Moyoung turned away in anger, calling Song Baek a fool as he left. Lady Ri asked Song Baek if he was alright, but he was at a loss for words. All he could say was her name, Rime. Lady Ri hugged him in consolation, telling him through her tears that everything was going to be alright. In another scene, Grand Marshal Dongbang Chunhu was looking through a martial arts book despite someone standing in front of him. It was none other than Minister of Revenue, Lee Taejung, whose son had been killed by Song Baek. After a short pause, Dongbang Chunhu said that it was indeed unfortunate that his son had passed away. The minister snapped upon hearing this, and asked the Grand Marshal what he meant by unfortunate. His son was dead, and how would Dongbang Chunhu take responsibility for this? Dongbang Chunhu, with a commanding tone, asked Lee Taejung how he dared talk about responsibility in his presence. Seeing the change in expression, a terrified Lee Taejung thought to himself that he was dealing with Dongbang Chunhu. His life could end here, but he had to spit out the frustration he was holding. Lee Taejung asked how Dongbang Chunhu could be so confident when a warrior from his residence had killed his son. After a short pause, Dongbang Chunhu told Lee Taejung to simply get another son since the first one was killed. This statement enraged Lee Taejung, who felt he could kill a lot. He pointed at Dongbang Chunhu, asking how he could tell him to get a new son just like that. Suddenly the door swung open, and Lady Ri entered. After reading the room, she knelt, not before Lee Taejung but before her father, telling him that Song Baek had done nothing wrong. The fault lay with Lee Taejung's son, who had harassed her. A man such as Lee Taejung never knew what his son was up to, so he replied, "What nonsense! It's impossible for my son to harass someone." Trying to gaslight her, he told Lady Ri to spill the actual truth and accused her of lying, claiming she couldn't escape the situation with such a story. He demanded the truth, or else, before he could finish his sentence, Dongbang Chunhu shattered a ceramic cup with his hand. With a shift in his aura, he asked the minister if he was implying that his daughter was lying. Lee Taejung, trembling in his pants, said to himself that Dongbang Chunhu, even if old, is still a tiger, and if he's not careful, he might lose his head on the spot. So, he gathered all his courage and told Dongbang Chunhu that the value of life isn't the same. The son of the Minister of Revenue was killed by a lowly warrior, and that is a crime that shakes the foundations of the nation. Dongbang Chunhu was cleaning the blood off his hand, and after a short silence, He told Lee Taejung that if a lowly warrior had killed his child, he would have beheaded him too and wouldn't risk damaging the relationship he has with the minister by raising his voice. Then hand over Song Baek immediately, Lee Taejung said. Our female protagonist, who had been in the background, thought to herself that at this rate Song Baek will be killed. But Dongbang Chunhu, being a man I respect, told the minister that it's unfortunate his son has passed away, but which brother would stand by and watch his sister being harassed? Lee Taejung snapped and asked what he meant by that. Dongbang Chunhu replied that Song Baek isn't just a mere warrior or lowly bodyguard. With a serious look, Dongbang Chunhu told the minister that Song Baek is his adopted son. In the next scene, all we saw were legs moving fast, and when my cameraman zoomed in, we saw that the legs belonged to the old nanny and some maids. They walked up to the house where Song Baek stayed, and when they entered the room, Song Baek was thinking nothing but thoughts. After entering, the old nanny, with her head slightly bent, didn't say a word. Song Baek, upon seeing this, thought to himself that his fate had finally been decided. It was an extreme life anyway, as long as Reme is safe. After a thoughtful moment, he stood and said, "Nanny, it's been a while." He asked if Lady Ri was safe. Suddenly, while bowing, the old nanny said, "Greetings, my lord," and the other maids echoed, "Greetings, young master." Song Baek was shocked and confused by this event. He asked why they were all acting like that all of a sudden, but there was no reply. Instead, the old nanny told Song Baek that she had prepared the bath, and that he should follow her. Dear listeners, for easy understanding and fewer cliffhangers, since Song Baek killed the son of a powerful minister while protecting Lady Ri, Dongbang Chunhu made a statement that Song Baek is his adopted son. And that's the only way he could survive imminent death. An unknown time later, Dongbang Chunhu was having a sip of wisdom from his cup of tea. Then he looked up and told the person standing in front of him that he looked like a completely different person dressed like that. The person was none other than our protagonist, Song Baek, looking fresh in a nobleman's cloth. Song Baek knelt down, greeting Dongbang Chunhu, the head of the household. Dongbang Chunhu said that he had been neglectful since he took Song Baek in. He didn't realize how much he had grown. Song Baek replied, "Not at all. I am grateful for being taken in as an orphan who had nowhere to go." He apologized for causing such worry with the recent incident. After a short pause, Dongbang Chunhu said to Song Baek that he has a lot of enemies. There's no way anyone in his position wouldn't have enemies. He stood up and said that protecting himself from those enemies is already overwhelming, and on top of that, he must also protect his daughter Reme. He asked Song Baek if he understood what he was trying to say. Dongbang Chunhu meant that he couldn't protect Song Baek as well, so instead of abandoning someone he saw as Highchild, he found a way to save him. Dongbang Chunhu told Song Baek that in 3 days' time, General Moyong will be going to the front line with a new unit, and he should join them. Song Baek, who thought his life would end, didn't know how to express his joy. Even if he might die on the battlefield, at least he had a slim chance of survival. He stomped his hand and told Dongbang Chunhu that he would follow his command. After that, Song Baek left for his room, and as he was walking, he kept going over what Dongbang Chunhu had said. Dongbang told him that he would understand once he got there just how vile humans can be. The Grand Marshal told him that he must kill those vile creatures and bring honor to their country. Song Baek was aware of how vile humans can be, but he had no desire to die yet, even if he became a beast. As he was walking, he noticed a figure, and it was none other than Lady Ri, who stood as if she were waiting for her long-lost husband. Lady Ri ran to Song Baek and hugged him. She asked him, "What will we do now?" Song Baek was speechless and couldn't say a word. Lady Ri, while holding his robe, told him to say something. Finally, Song Baek replied. He told her she shouldn't do this. They're siblings now. Everyone would think that Lady Ri was listening, but a lady in love hardly listens. She called out to Song Baek, saying they should both run away to a place where they could live together and no one would know them. With a smile, she said he wouldn't have to kill anyone anymore. Easier said than done. Lady Ri was shocked to see Song Baek removing her hands. He then said to her that he was sorry, but he had to follow her father's command. A few days before the journey to the battlefield, Song Baek, fully dressed, went to Lady Ri's door and told her that he was leaving tomorrow. Rime, listening to him, didn't say a word. Instead, she kept sewing a cloth to hold in her anger. Song Baek said that he was sorry he couldn't fulfill her wish and that they wouldn't see each other for a while. He pulled out the Song family's heirloom he had from when he was young and hung it on Rime's door. He said that she should please take care of herself in the meantime and promised he would come back. Uncontrollable tears rolled down Lady Ri's face as he left, the pain of being separated from someone she was in love with weighing heavily on her. The next morning, on the day of departure, the warriors directed the workers carrying the rations for the battlefield. General Moyang yelled that they should be careful because the supplies were worth a few years of their salary. He said they should hurry up, the supplies were for their comrades at the front line. The general noticed Song Baek, who was lost in thought, so he asked him if he hadn't said his goodbyes to the young lady yet. Song Baek replied, "No," she still seemed upset. General Moyang said to himself that in any case, the battlefield is no place for the living, and seeing Lady Ri's face would only leave lingering regrets. Maybe it was for the best. General Moyang told Song Baek they were about to depart so he should come along. Just as they were about to leave, the nanny called out, "Master Song Baek," telling him to wait a minute. He asked the nanny what it was, and she handed him a cloth, saying that Lady Ri asked her to give it to him. Song Baek was surprised, and with a smile, he thought to himself, so this was the reason why she wouldn't see me for 3 days. Then they left. On the other hand, Lady Ri went to a hill where she could see them leaving. While holding his pendant to her chest, she said that he must stay safe. About 3 years later, on the gruesome battlefield, where horses could even be a threat, blood splashed like rain, and bodies piled up like a construction site, our protagonist, Song Baek, after fighting for 3 years, had gained the name Soser Lang, which means killing wolf. This man, who seemed like the leader of the battalion, ordered his minions to kill Song Baek. But our protagonist was chilling like the MC of some anime, and when they got close to him, the horses were terrified by his presence alone. On the other hand, General Moyang, with a few soldiers remaining, stood tall to defend the border from the barbarians. The enemy, with their overwhelming force, attacked and killed most of the soldiers. But you know what? General Moyang didn't fret because Song Baek was worth more than 1,000 soldiers. He slayed the enemies with ease and zero stress. The leader of the enemy battalion was shocked to see this. He called Song Baek a monstrous fiend, and decided to fight him himself, but our protagonist didn't budge. He was so chill. He then said that all the enemies weren't humans, they were beasts, and bang, he struck the leader with his spear. After the victory of the 3rd round of the war, Song Baek, from a distance, looked at their base camp and said to himself that he made it through another day. While staring at his hand, he remembered the people he had killed, and wondered who was the beast between him and them. As he was thinking of nothing but thoughts, General Moyang came and asked him if he couldn't sleep. The general told him that tomorrow's battle would be the toughest and biggest they had faced so far. Song Baek was like, "You are still awake, General Moyang?" And the general replied, "You stubborn brat, I told you to call me brother when we are alone." General Moyang called Song Baek a strange one, because he followed all orders without complaints, but refused to call him brother no matter what. Song Baek responded that he was sorry. General Moyang reminded him that it had been 3 years since they came to the battlefield, and asked Song Baek how he felt knowing he could return home once this battle was over. Song Baek replied, asking if it was really okay to go back home, since he no longer saw people as humans. Perhaps he had gone mad. General Moyang, after a short pause, asked if he was saying this because of Lady Ri. Song Baek was speechless and tried to hide, but the general could see through him. General Moyang, with a sharp turn, told him he didn't need to hide it and shouldn't worry, because if it's Lady Ri, she would be on his side no matter what. As the general left, he said he would head in for the night and told Song Baek not to forget to call him brother next time. Song Baek, with a sad look, said to himself that he couldn't call General Moyang brother, because to him, calling someone brother represented the person who abandoned him when he was younger. But someday he hoped to call General Moyang brother, though it felt like a promise that could never be kept. The next day, on the battlefield, the barbarians with their overwhelming force engaged General Moyang and his warriors. Most of them were being slain by the enemies. General Moyang and his underlings were holding the front line when he noticed they were losing the battle. Amidst the battle, he asked one of his soldiers, "What's going on here? Why is there still no contact with the rear unit?" One of the soldiers informed him that the rear unit had withdrawn. He was filled with anger upon hearing that his fellow general had betrayed him on the battlefield, another cowardly scoundrel, so Zhongjong. Meanwhile, the 3 great leaders of the barbarians were watching the battle from a cliff, and one of them laughed, saying the enemies had actually opened up the rear for them. He said that the Central Plains were truly foolish. The man with the scar added that the Central Plains had become slaves to power struggles rather than focusing on their nation's safety. Such vermin, that's what the Central Plain people are. This man's name is Oyerat Taisi Tajar, the leader of the barbarians, and for reference, we will be calling him Tajar. Some unknown days later, in the Dongbang residence, Lady Ri was staring at Song Baek's pendant when the old nanny came in, bowing, and said she had some news. Lady Ri snapped, telling the nanny that if the news was about her suitor, Lord Cheon, she would refuse the proposal again. But the nanny informed her that the news was about young Master Song Baek. Upon hearing this, her face lit up, and she quickly rushed out of the room to hear from her father. They had said the battle would take about 3 years, and now it was finally time. In Dongbang Chunhu's study, he slammed his hand on the table in extreme rage and asked a warrior if the news was true. The soldier replied, "Yes, General Mo Young's entire army has been annihilated." "Impossible," Dongbang Chunhu said. And then bang, Lady Ri, who had just entered the room, fainted as she heard the news. Dongbang Chunhu screamed out her name and called for a doctor. On the battlefield, with corpses lying around and flamehawks patrolling the sky, suddenly a figure began moving amongst the dead bodies. Behold, it was no other than our protagonist. He stood up, covering his injury, and said to himself, "Don't worry, Rime, I will never die, not now. I am coming to you soon." In the imperial palace, the emperor's advisor, Jiang Maso, laughed hard upon hearing the news that General Mo Young had died in battle. "It's as if Dongbang Chunhu has lost an arm," he said. It turns out Jiang Maso wanted to take over the country, but Dongbang Chunhu was the only one blocking his path. So he orchestrated with the enemy to defeat General Mo Young, a subordinate of Dongbang Chunhu who was fighting for the country. Now, with him dead, the Grand Marshal, also known as Dongbang Chunhu, had suffered a heavy loss. Back to the story, Jiang Maso asked the Minister of Revenue, Li Taijung, if the token of sincerity had pleased him. Jiang Maso asked if the minister would now join their rebellion, but Li Taijung, with a face like swollen rice, replied that he wouldn't join until he saw the body of Song Baek, who had killed his son 3 years ago. He said that Jiang Maso should bring Song Baek's head, and if he did, he would not only drive Dongbang Chunhu from power, but also join the rebellion. Then he left. After a short silence, Jiang Maso told his followers that their task now was to find the body of Song Baek, and they all echoed, "Yes, my lord." It was nighttime in the bustling city, and civilians gasped and murmured as they saw Song Baek dragging his spear, looking all ragged. Song Baek didn't care because he had a target, to kill the 2 generals who betrayed them on the battlefield. Knowing their frequent location, he walked up to a certain building. He looked up and said, "So this is where So Jongjong is having fun after betraying General Mo Young." Inside, there was a man with ladies around him. I love chubby people, but this man was so ugly that even if I were a cannibal, I wouldn't eat him. His name was So Jongjong, the betrayer. As he was enjoying himself, he laughed, saying this must be heaven. He said he couldn't believe he would get to experience such happiness over the age of 40. His colleague, leaning into a courtesan's chest, said it was so much better than the court, where such luxury would never be allowed. Now, on a more serious note, his colleague asked if they could handle what they had done on their own. He pointed out that by betraying General Mo Young, the country's front line had collapsed, and if the barbarians invaded again, the civil officials wouldn't be able to stop them. He asked what So Jongjong had been thinking when he decided to betray General Mo Young and hand them over to the barbarians. With a cringe-worthy laugh, So Jongjong replied that he had already made arrangements with the barbarians, and as a result, his lord Jiang Maso had made a deal that they wouldn't invade until next year. So he urged his colleague not to worry and raise his glass of wine, for the world awaited them. As they were about to drink their last wine on earth, they heard screams outside, suggesting someone was intruding. They wondered what was going on, and bang! Song Baek came in, blood dripping from his spear. He must have killed a lot. The colleague was like, "How dare you come here? Do you know where you are?" But before he could finish yapping, Song Baek sliced off his head. Now, Song Baek faced So Jongjong and asked why he had betrayed them on the battlefield. Instead of giving a silly reply at least, So Jongjong told Song Baek to wait and asked if he knew what would happen if he killed him. But Song Baek was not ready for his chit-chat, so he raised his spear and told So Jongjong that after he kills him, he will go for his leader, Jiang Maso. And bang, all we saw was blood splashing on my camera. In that same street, a man came out of the courtesan house, with one of the courtesans begging him to stay a little bit longer. The drunk looked back and saw soldiers passing by. He wondered, what's a soldier stationed at the front line doing in the city? The soldiers paraded until they got to a place called the Eternal Peace Pavilion, and as they entered the building, Po Zhong, the pavilion leader, welcomed them, and the rest of the ladies greeted them. The man who seemed like the leader of the soldiers asked Po Jong if she knew him. She replied that the fame of the 10 Shadows Brigade is well known in the town, so how could she not know him? The man's name is Jong Il-gwan, the commander of the 10 Shadows Brigade. Po Jong could tell that the commander was in search of Song Baek, so she said she would guide him to Master Song. But Commander Il-gwan, with a dry laugh, went close like he was about to steal a kiss. He then said that only a few know the nature of Song Baek. She's just a mere courtesan, yet she seems to know quite a lot. He told Po Jong that he would visit again another time and didn't need her help to find Song Baek. As he was leaving, Po Jong, slightly angry, said to herself that Il-gwan, a man who rose to the position of commander of the 10 Shadows Brigade at just 30, is known for his bold character, but he's a sharp fox. Po Jong said to herself that she needed to be careful. Commander Il-gwan went to the room where his boys said they found Song Baek. When he got there, he was like, "Oh my god, what a mess Song Baek has made." With a dry laugh, he said to Song Baek that he wondered if it was possible, but he was really alive. As he looked around, he saw Song Baek sitting beside the corpse of the generals who betrayed them. The next day, Lady Ri, after waking up from fainting, didn't rest. She was running while her maids chased after her, but they couldn't catch up. Lady Ri ran to the market square, and when she got there, people were gathered. The whole crowd murmured that the soldiers caught a traitor who killed his superiors. Lady Ri forced her way through the crowd, and when she finally got to the front, tears rolled down her cheeks as she saw Song Baek in a cage, but it was tears of joy because she was happy he was alive at least. In another scene, Lee Tae-jung visited Jang Ma-so and slammed the table angrily. He asked why Song Baek was still alive after promising to kill him. And Jang Ma-so, with a calm face, told him that it's not a good time to kill Song Baek yet. Dumb Lee Tae-jung asked what he meant, and Jang Ma-so brought him to the light by saying that Song Baek is the sole survivor of the recent battle with the Mongolian army, and all eyes are on him. Moreover, there will be an extensive investigation into why he killed his superior So Jong-jong, so they should wait a bit before killing him. Lee Tae-jung, who seemed impatient, turned back and replied that he understood. He told Jang Ma-so to handle his affairs, and he would handle his own. Then he left angrily. As he left, Jang Ma-so called him a foolish man for being impatient. He thought, if he waits a little longer, he would achieve what he wants. Jang Ma-so said to himself that Commander Il-gwan, a man who belongs to no faction or politics, brought back Song Baek, who killed his superiors. It's unusual, and there must be some scheme. Jang Ma-so felt that Commander Il-gwan might have evidence of his secret dealings with Taja, the barbarian leader. He folded his hands and said that he had a bad feeling about this. They must not act rashly until they understand Il-gwan's intentions, whether he's on their side or not. Suddenly, Jang Ma-so called out his secret assassin, No Hogwan. The assassin asked if there was any task, and Jang told him to eliminate Lee Tae-jung if he did anything unnecessary, in a dungeon that's obviously a prison where high-crime prisoners are held. Lee Tae-jung came to pay a visit to Song Baek, who was chained to the prison walls. He looked through the prison bars and said to Song Baek, "Indeed, you have a persistent life." Lee Tae-jung, with a disgusting expression, told Song Baek that he and that girl, Lady Ri, won't rest in peace. Upon hearing this, Song Baek, in a serious tone, replied that he would find Lee Tae-jung and kill him if he so much as touched even a single hair on Rime's head. Song Baek struggled with the chains as he yelled that he would destroy everyone associated with him. Lee Tae-jung told Song Baek that it turns out he is a beast disguised as a human, and he should have died on the battlefield instead of surviving. As the minister left, he informed Song Baek that both his death and Rime's death would be his fault. In Dongbang's residence, Commander Il-gwan visited the Grand Marshal, and as they were discussing, he informed Dongbang Chunhu that he could save Song Baek. The old man spilled his tea when he heard this. However, there are conditions to be met if he wants to save him. Dongbang Chunhu asked him what they were, and Commander Il-gwan replied that he had to give him Song Baek. This is a tough decision for Dongbang Chunhu, to give up Song Baek, and for now, he has not made a decision. Commander Il-gwan stood up and asked the Grand Marshal if he had realized why General Moyoung's army was annihilated. He said, "It's obviously not something Jongjong could have orchestrated alone." He told the Grand Marshal to brace himself because the people behind everything that's going on won't give up easily. The Grand Marshal was curious and asked why Commander Il-gwan, someone who's uninterested in politics, would help him. With a proud grin, Il-gwan replied that he was drinking buddies with General Moyoung, and it's only natural to help the brother of a close friend. Then he left. Dongbang Chunhu had a suspicion about who was behind all that's happening, and as he thought of this he yelled, "Jang Maso," saying that he would pay dearly for this. Meanwhile, Nahogwan was on the rooftop watching Commander Ilguan's movements. He said to himself that fortunately, it seems they haven't gathered enough evidence against Jang Maso. Now, the problem is, Lee Taejung, if he gets caught doing something unnecessary, it could be dangerous and spoil their plans. But first, Nahogwan decided to report to Jang Maso on his findings. As he was about to leave, he heard a voice. As he looked back, he saw Lady Ri, whom he did not know. She told the old nanny to please let her go out, but the nanny insisted she shouldn't. On the other hand, Nahogwan the assassin was staring at Lady Ri curiously for an unknown reason. After the struggle, Lady Ri finally found a way to leave the house. She used a veil to cover her head so no one would notice her, but as she was walking, she wondered if it was just her imagination or if someone was actually tailing her. When she looked back, she didn't see anyone, but her guess was right. My cameraman spotted Nahogwan, the assassin. On the other hand, Jang has been waiting for Nahogwan's feedback, not knowing that he is out there chasing a girl. As he was about to drink his favorite tea, he smashed the cup in anger that Nahogwan has not returned. He wondered what on earth was happening. Jang Maso said to himself that no matter how skilled Nahogwan is, it was a mistake to entrust such a confidential mission to a wandering ronin with an unclear background. One of his servants asked if he was all right and came to wipe the blood off his hands. Then, a soldier came bowing to Jang Maso, and he asked the soldier, "When is Song Baek's interrogation?" The soldier replied that the royal guards would be interrogating him the day after tomorrow. Jang Maso put his hand on his chin, indicating deep thought. And he said to himself that once the interrogation starts, Lee Taejung won't be able to make any move on Song Baek, so he will surely try to attack Song Baek before the interrogation. If the foolish Lee Taejung tries to harm Song Baek, Commander Ilguan will also take action, and that will make things troublesome for Jang Maso. Suddenly, Jang Maso stood up and told the soldier to bring him his sword. The soldier was surprised because it's only on rare occasions that Jang Maso uses his sword. Jang Maso said that he would handle the issue personally. It was nighttime, and Lady Ri was walking on the streets in search of someone who could save Song Baek from execution. She walked past a lot of courtesans and prostitutes. One of them told her to just take a look around and then leave. After searching for a while, Lady Ri met a girl in a tavern and asked her where she could find a group of people known as Hao Men. The girl snapped and said that she shouldn't mention such places because if she knew what Hao Men was like, she wouldn't even leave her house. Lady Ri, booming with curiosity, asked the girl what Hao Men are like. The girl replied that the people of Hao Men are so different from the martial artists everyone knows. Unlike those who pursue righteousness or those who revere strength as their creed, Hao Men are a gathering of thugs, and because of that, they don't accept requests from ordinary people who aren't part of the martial world. Especially since Hao Men is usually near the red light district, beautiful women like Lady Ri get taken away. After a short pause, Lady Ri stood up and told the girl that she understood. As she was leaving the inn, she told the girl that finding the Hao Men seems quite strange, so she has to find another way. The girl gave her a final warning that she shouldn't go near the Hao Men. On the street as Lady Ri left, she said to herself that she's sorry for lying, but to save Song Baek, she has no other choice than to take the risk. Lady Ri went to a huge man and asked him where she could find Hao Men. The man said she can actually meet them if she goes to a certain courtesan house, but after a short sigh, he massaged his head that looked like an oracle and told Lady Ri that Hao Men isn't just any courtesan house. He said that Lady Ri seems to be a well-bred woman and should go back home if she does not want to get into trouble. Then, in anger that her search is going nowhere, Lady Ri turned back and left. As she was leaving, the man sighed and said to himself that it seems she heard about the Hao Men from somewhere. He said he's sorry, but it's not a place she can just meet anyone. Suddenly, a group of 4 guys who seemed like scholars called out to the man, with one of the guys holding a pink bag of money. They asked the man about the conversation with Lady Ri, promising to give him the money if he tells them. On the other hand, Lady Ri, whom we all think is going home, was thinking nothing but thoughts. She kept on wondering where she could find the Hao Men. Suddenly, a voice echoed, asking her if she was looking for the Hao Men by chance. She looked back to see who it was, and it turned out to be a little boy, and the boy gave her a dry laugh. On to the next scene. The boy was leading her to the Hao Men's base, as he walked joyfully. Lady Ri wondered how far they were going because they had stayed quite far from the central city. She asked herself if it's okay. She voiced out and asked the boy if they are still far from the Howmen, and the boy replied, saying they are almost there, and she should just hold on a little longer. Lady Ri said to herself that something feels off, such a dumb girl to realize now. After a little walk, the boy said to her that they have arrived. He told her that the place is Guandi Temple. Suddenly the boy was like, "Sirs, I have brought her." Lady Ri was shocked to see that the people the boy led her to were not the Howmen but someone else. They paid the boy 2 coins for a job well done, and with a dry laugh, he said they shouldn't mention it. The boy bowed to them, saying that they should use his service again. He said that he will visit them some other time. As he was leaving, he walked up to Lady Rai where she stood, and with a grin, he told her that she shouldn't be too upset because deception is the way of the world. And that's the reality of their city Jianghu. Then he zoomed off with joy. After a few seconds, the 4 men surrounded Lady Ri with lust in their eyes. One of the guys, who seemed like their leader, laughed and said that it seemed Lady Ri knew how to enjoy herself for wandering around the red light district at this time. With a sigh, Lady Ri asked him if he was alright with doing this, Lord Qian. The guy turned out to be Lord Qian, who had been asking to marry her for all these years, but Lady Ri had refused. Lord Qian laughed out loud and said what an honor it was to think that the daughter of the Dongbang family would remember the son of a mere merchant guild. Lady Ri pulled out a knife and said that he shouldn't come any closer, and if he did, she wouldn't stand by silently. She asked Qian why he was doing this when he knew the trouble it would cause if he harmed her. Lady Ri had told him several times that she would never accept his proposal. Lord Qian, with a disgusting grin, said that it seemed there had been a misunderstanding since there was nothing like harm in his mind. He said that Lady Ri's father, Dongbang Chunhu, would actually accept this. After all, it was he who arranged the matchmaker. Meanwhile, Lady Ri was sweating while holding her dagger. Lord Qian continued and asked her if she knew that her father was currently in a difficult situation as it stood, and whether it was with him or someone else, she was destined for a political marriage. Lady Ri yelled that he shouldn't be ridiculous, because her father would never do that. But before she could complete her sentence, one of the guys surrounding her pushed her and held her on the ground, which made her drop her knife. The guy groped her chest and told her to stay still. Lady Ri screamed that he should let go of her this instant. With an irritating grin, the guy said that she shouldn't worry, because it would be good for both of them. Another guy added, yes, if she accepted all 4 of them as her husbands, Dongbang Chunhu would gain great freedom and power. Lady Ri, feeling out of breath, said to herself, "Ah, these guys, they are beasts." She said that beasts were not only found on the battlefield. Then she was like, "Song Bake, am sorry," with tears rolling down as her eyes closed. The guy holding her said that the other guys should wait for their turn. Since he caught her first, he should be her first husband. Then, bang! A dagger struck his forehead, and blood splattered out. He freed Lady Ri as he fell down to his deathbed. The other guys were shocked upon seeing this. They were like, what is happening? Did he just die? The other guy yelled his guts out, and asked Lady Ri what she did to their friend. He picked up his sword, running to attack her. The other guy told him to wait a minute, but he didn't listen. He called Lady Ri a crazy bastard as he tried to stab her. Lady Ri insisted that she wasn't the one who killed their friend. She wondered who on earth did. As the guy was about to slay Lady Ri, 2 daggers came flying and sliced his head and hand off his body, and then he died. Lady Ri was shocked by what was happening. It was as if heaven were helping her. But who actually was the heaven? Let's see. Lady Ri yelled, "What on earth is happening?" But as she looked up, a voice said, "Unfortunately, the fun ends here." It turned out to be an assassin wearing a mask. From the rooftop, the assassin said that he was grateful they brought Lady Dongbang Ri out here, but he couldn't leave any witnesses. The 2 guys were speechless, and in fear, the other guy began running. Lord Qian asked him where he was running to, and he replied that he did not want to die. Bang! His head was separated from his neck as if it were in Squid Game. Another assassin came carrying the boy who misled Lady Ri to this place and said, what pathetic trash." Lady Ri was shocked and said to herself that that boy was the child from earlier. The assassin carrying the boy dropped him and asked his colleagues if he had to take care of all the witnesses by himself. He looked up and called the other guy on the rooftop, telling him to come down. Suddenly, about 5 assassins emerged from the shadows, surrounding Lady Ri and the other 2 guys. Lord Qian was shocked and didn't know where to look, whether left or right. Then he knelt down and begged the assassins to please spare him. He said that he was the son of a well-known merchant guild and would do anything if they spared him. The assassin with a serious look said, "Oh, you will do anything?" Lord Qian replied, "Yes, I will do anything, just say the word." Bang! The assassin used a scythe to stab his head, saying that he could simply die, and blood splattered out. After a short pause, one of the assassins with a suspicious look glanced at Lady Ri. He was like, "Is that woman Dongbang Ri?" He said to himself that she was incredibly beautiful. No wonder she captured the hearts of all men in the city. Since she was going to die anyway, he might as well have some fun with her. Suddenly, a guy came attacking all the assassins. What a twist! The assassins asked who he was, and one of them threw his chain scythe at him, but he dodged it, and it got stuck in a tree. The guy began walking on the chain, and upon seeing this, the assassin was familiar with that footwork. He asked the guy why he was there, and the guy was like, "Who knows?" And bang! He jumped from the chain and cut the assassin's head off. After the guy landed, he said to himself that he didn't know why he was doing all this either. He didn't know why he chose to help Lady Ri. Then he began fighting the other assassins. Meanwhile, Lady Ri wondered who the guy was to be helping her. As they fought, one of the assassins said to himself that he knew this guy wasn't an ordinary master, but he never imagined him to be this powerful. The assassin then screamed, "Nohogwan, why are you interfering with us?" The guy turned out to be Nohogwan, whom Jiang Maso sent to monitor Dongbang Chunhu, but here he was, chasing his dreams. Nohogwan told the assassin that he had no idea why he was interfering either, and bang, he slayed the last assassin. As he sheathed his sword, he looked at the corpses of the assassins and said to himself that if the assassination had started over here, then it must have started on the other side too. Well, it didn't matter to him anymore. As he was thinking, lost in thought, Lady Ri called his attention and thanked him for saving her. She said that it was all thanks to him that she survived. But Nohogwan was shocked as he looked at her closely, with cold sweat running down his spine. He said to himself that it must be because of Lady Ri's eyes that he was shaken. He gritted his teeth and couldn't bear to stare any longer. With a sharp turn, he said that Lady Ri should go towards the Jinyan Way, and she would find what she was looking for there. After a short pause, Lady Ri bowed and said, thank you so much." Then she left to continue her search. In a dungeon that's obviously a prison, about 5 Imperial guards walked down the stairs, and after passing a few cells, they opened one of the doors and told Song Baek to get up, it's time for interrogation. In the next scene, Song Baek was walking with his 2 hands cuffed. After walking for a while he thought, an interrogation at this hour? Even on the battlefield, they don't conduct interrogations late at night unless it's urgent. Plus, his crime is the killing of a superior, therefore, it should be a formal inquiry by high-ranking officials. So, an interrogation at this hour seems suspicious, and more importantly, the soldiers' footsteps are too quiet. Song Baek said to himself that these aren't the footsteps of soldiers, with 3 of them in front and 2 behind. With a deep sigh, Song Baek was like, so it begins, and bang! He kicked one of the guards in the neck. He attacked them before they could attack him because this was not an interrogation. They were obviously here to kill him on the spot. The guard didn't see what hit him. All he saw was himself losing consciousness. Now 1 out of 5 was down. Song Baek yelled that whoever they were, they should hurry up and come at him. One of the guards was pained that he caught up to their plot. He called Song Baek a bastard and ordered his colleague to take him down, but our protagonist was chill. He stood like some martial arts lord in an anime as they charged at him, and bang! All we saw was blood around the area with the guards bleeding. Song Baek used all he had to fight them. He even bit one of the guards on the neck. The last guard called him a beast as he gave up the ghost. After killing them, a thought came to Song Baek about who must have sent these guys to kill him. He remembered Lee Tae-jung, the Minister of Revenue, who said that neither Song Baek nor his girl Remei would die peacefully. As he thought of this, Song Baek concluded that it was certainly Lee Tae-jung who sent them, and he needed to get to Remei quickly because she was also in danger. Suddenly, a voice said to Song Baek that he was truly a beast, and when he turned around to see who it was none other than Lee Tae-jung, the father of the main side character. Song Baek looked at Tae-jung and told him that he lacked patience, because if he had waited a little bit longer, Song Baek would have come to take his head by himself. Lee Tae-jung responded that no matter how he thought about it, he had to come and take Song Baek's head personally. Whether it was fortunate or not, Song Baek managed to survive. Lee Tae-jung ordered the 2 Imperial guards by his side to capture and bring Song Baek to him. He yelled that he would personally take off that beast's head. The guards replied, "Yes, sir," and they set off to attack Song Baek. A few minutes later, after multiple sword clanks and dodging, Lee Tae-jung was already getting impatient as he yelled and asked them what they were doing. The two imperial guards couldn't even land a single strike on a dying man. One of the guards called Song Baek a little brat, saying that he kept scurrying away like a mouse. He tried stabbing him, but Song Baek dodged it like it was in slow motion. With a sharp glare, Song Baek said to himself that these guys were the same people he fought previously when the creepy guy came to harass Lady Ri. Song Baek said that he didn't realize it back then, but now he could see that their sword was quite remarkable. It was so well crafted that he would even want to demonstrate it to the troops. Song Baek voiced out that both of them had become weaker, or is it that he had grown stronger over the years? Upon hearing this, one of the guards snapped. He was like, "Song Baek, you insolent brat, let's see how long you're going to keep running." Despite the threat, our protagonist was still chill. Song Baek then remembered the battlefield. He said to himself that the swords of the enemies on the battlefield were rough, but they were the swords of wolves. In contrast, these guards' swords seemed sharp and well forged at first glance, but in the end, they were swords without honor. And bang! Song Baek gave the guard a kick that could make a man repent. The guard fell down on the ground lifelessly, and the other guard screamed out his big brother's name. Song Baek said to himself that a warrior who has lost the honor of their sword for power is a dog's sword. He stared at the sword in front of him. Meanwhile, the other guard, enraged that his brother was killed, launched an attack on Song Baek. As he was about to stab our protagonist, Song Baek used his foot to pick up the sword in his hand, and bang! He stabbed the other guard without looking. The guard fell to the ground with about 10 liters of blood flowing out. On the other hand, Lee Tae-jung was scared and frightened by the sight. He was like, "No way, all the people I sent were defeated by him." He looked at Song Baek and said he was not a human. He called Song Baek a beast. In fear, he decided to run away for dear life. Song Baek looked at Lee Tae-jung and called him a foolish man. Did he really think he could survive after causing all this trouble? Suddenly, Song Baek was stunned and speechless by what he saw. He saw a figure, and when my cameraman zoomed closer, it was Lady Ri. She was also shocked to see Song Baek. Song Baek, still stunned, couldn't voice out. He could only wonder why Lady Ri was here of all times. On the other hand, Lee Tae-jung laughed evilly and said that heaven hadn't abandoned him after all. Song Baek yelled that Ri should run away. Lee Tae-jung said to himself that as long as he had Lady Ri, that beast called Song Baek would succumb to him. So he reached for Lady Ri and tried to grab her, but before he could reach her, he was sliced into pieces by a familiar man whom you all might know if you have been following. The man had an aura similar to Michael Jackson's. He was wearing a mask to keep the viewers in suspense. He called dead Lee Tae-jung a foolish man and said he had warned him many times not to cross his boundaries. Suddenly, the man's sword became flexible and he wrapped it around his wrist. He then said that thanks to Lee Tae-jung, he could kill Song Baek more easily. With a sharp turn, he looked at the frightened Lady Ri, and after a short pause, he said that the rumors didn't do her justice. Now he understood why the men in the capital were restless. He said she was beautiful enough to bring down a nation. But Lady Ri didn't know what was happening. Her body just wouldn't move. Maybe it was because of the man's intimidating aura. With an evil look, the masked man said to himself that if he utilized Lady Ri, he could control the emperor and bring down Dongbang Chunhu. So he stretched out his hand and told Lady Ri to take his hand, and she would give her the world. Lady Ri was stunned and asked him what he was talking about. Song Baek, who had been in the background, yelled that he should get away from Ri. With his cuffed hands, he held a sword and ran towards the masked man. The man used his flexible sword to block the attack, leaving Song Baek surprised by his strength. With a dry laugh, the masked man said to Song Baek that he thought he was a beast, but he knew how to use the sword quite well. Then he made a gesture, and his sword bent towards Song Baek's face. Our protagonist was shocked, and now realized that the man's sword was a snake. It was dangerous, and he had to dodge. Luckily for Song Baek, he dodged it. The masked man laughed and said that Song Baek using Neriotagon to dodge the attack was a wise choice indeed. Neriotagon is a technique used to urgently evade attacks by rolling on the ground. Unfortunately, the masked man had more than one snake. He told Song Baek that if he could dodge this too, he would let him live. And bang! He used his skill known as Four Dragon, and 3 venomous snakes appeared from his sword. Lady Ri, who has been watching the fight, screamed Song Baek's name. All we saw was an explosion and smoke in the area where Song Baek stood. After the smoke cleared, the masked man exclaimed that Song Baek was incredible. He actually managed to dodge his attack. The masked man asked Song Baek if he was the child of any martial arts family, because the footwork he used to dodge the attack is not a technique an ordinary soldier would know. Song Baek gritted his teeth and said to himself that he was helped again by memories he'd rather forget. Then he looked up and told the masked man that he is from no martial arts family. After a short pause, the man said, well, a promise is a promise, so he will let Song Baek live. But there's one thing he is curious about. He heard Song Baek is Dongbang Chunhu's adopted son, but are he and Lady Ri really siblings? No matter how he looks at it, Lady Ri's eyes don't reflect the concern a sister has for her brother, and Song Baek's gaze isn't exactly sibling-like either. This statement put both Song Baek and Lady Ri in shock. It was an undeniable fact. The masked man said that he is not criticizing them, and they shouldn't get him wrong, he actually has a fondness for taboo. With anger, Song Baek said to himself that now he understands the true identity of the masked man, a mouth that speaks the name of the Grand Marshal so lightly. A feminine manner of speech that contrasts with his formidable martial skill. This masked man is none other than the head of Dongchang and the emperor's direct overseer of the military forces in Beijing and Nanjing. He is Jiang Maso, the mastermind behind all of this and the Grand Marshal's greatest enemy. Song Baek picked up his sword to fight, but suddenly, Jiang Maso asked, how about he joins him in the rebellion? Jiang Maso said that with General Moyang dead, the Grand Marshal had become a toothless tiger. Even if it's not Jiang Maso, he will soon become prey for his other enemies. Jiang Maso said that if Song Baek joins him, he will help him achieve everything he dreams of. After a short pause, Song Baek couldn't reply. Suddenly, a voice echoed, calling out Song Baek. Jiang Maso looked back, and it was Commander Il Guan with his soldiers. He then told Song Baek that it seems their conversation ends here. He told him to give the offer serious thought, and in an instant, he flew into the sky. As he left, Song Baek was like, Jiang Maso is a truly terrifying individual, both in martial arts and schemes. As he was thinking, Lady Ri ran and hugged him tight. He told her to wait, but she said she won't let go ever again. The soldiers, upon seeing this, were like, oh wow, what a touching scene. Dongbang Chunhu was behind the soldiers, and with anger, he supposed he could take Jiang Maso as a corpse. The next morning, Lady Ri was seen running in a passage and bumped into the maids who were gossiping. With glee she apologized, and as she left, one of the maids asked why she's in such a hurry. She seems really cheerful today. Another maid responded, oh, it's because Master Song Baek came back yesterday. After running for a while, she stopped at an entrance to catch her breath. She opened the door and called out to Song Baek, saying that they should have breakfast, but she was surprised that he was not in the room. In another scene, Song Baek was dressed in a nobleman's clothes as he walked behind the Grand Marshal. They finally got to a flyover bridge, but they didn't say a word, so Song Baek wondered what this is all about, the Grand Marshal suddenly asking him for a walk. To break the silence, Dongbang Chunhu said that it's the first time he is taking a walk with him, and Song Baek replied, yes. Dongbang Chunhu thanked Song Baek for avenging General Moyang, who was like a son to him. But the Grand Marshal couldn't avenge him due to his position, and if it weren't for Song Baek, Rime would have faced great danger as well. With a serious look, he told Song Baek that he is always indebted to him, but Song Baek, while bowing, replied that it's nothing compared to the grace that the Grand Marshal had bestowed upon him. With a commanding tone, the Grand Marshal told Song Baek to bring him to Jar's head, and if he could do that, he will grant Song Baek whatever he desires. It was already evening, and in the bustling street, Song Baek was still going through what the Grand Marshal said to him. He asked himself if there's anything he desires. As he was lost in thought, a familiar voice called his name from a distance. When he looked up, it was none other than Lady Ri, who stood like an annoyed girlfriend. She folded her arms and asked Song Baek if he's going to keep doing this. Confused, Song Baek asked her what was wrong. Lady Ri responded, what does he mean by what's wrong? She wanted to have breakfast with him after so long, but he disappeared. They finally got to go out together, but he isn't even paying attention to her. What is he thinking about? Lady Ri asked. As Song Baek looked at her, he asked himself again what he truly desires, and it seems like the answer is in front of him. Lady Ri, who was still nagging, asked if he is listening to her. With a wide grin, Song Baek laughed out loud. Rime snapped and asked him what was funny. Suddenly, Songbak gave Rime a tight hug. She was shocked, her face all red and blushing. Songbak then said to her ear that he will never let go of her again. This statement got Lady Ri all teared up, and she replied, "Yes, Songbak, don't let go again." In another scene, Commander Il Guan yelled at the Grand Marshal to repeat what he just said. The Grand Marshal responded that it is true he asked for Tajar's head. Il Guan asked him if he knows what that means. If anything goes wrong, Songbak's life could be in danger. The Grand Marshal slammed his cup of tea and replied that he staked something more precious than his own life. Shouldn't he demand a corresponding price in return? Now Commander Il Guan understands what the Grand Marshal is implying, and he said to himself that for the Grand Marshal to use even his own daughter in such a situation, he is truly a fearsome individual. The next day, Songbak and Commander Il Guan on a horse stood in front of some warriors. Il Guan said to Songbak that these are the Yungun, known as hidden soldiers, and as he could see, they are an army composed of criminals of all kinds and ranks. From now on, they will be the army that Songbak would lead. Commander Il Guan said that given his merits in the previous war, Songbak deserves elite soldiers, but despite the betrayal, the offense of killing his superiors is extremely grave. However, if he achieves merit in this current battle, he can be pardoned. Il Guan asked Songbak if he understands, and he replied, "Yes, I do." As they were about to leave, a voice was telling the young lady to stop. They told her to wait a minute, but she didn't listen. Lady Ri ran to Songbak, breathing heavily, and with teary eyes, she was like, "You liar, you said you'd never let go again, you said this time would be different, so why? Why are you leaving again?" She cried uncontrollably, not minding the people around her. The outwardly manly protagonist hugged her and said that this will be the last time he leaves her. He told Rime that when he returns this time, they should get married. Upon hearing this, Lady Ri's eyes were filled with glee, and her tears dried up. She asked him if he really meant that, and Songbak replied, "Yes, he promised." With joy, she hugged him again, and all the soldiers cheered for them. Damn, how will we single guys survive? My cameraman also spotted this mysterious Nohogwan amongst the army Songbak would be leading. In the Eternal Pavilion, generals welcomed and congratulated Commander Il Guan for becoming the new governor. With a smile, Il Guan replied that he's the one who became the new governor, but they seem happier than he is. Commander Jia Hyuk responded, saying, "How could they not be happy when they've broken free from Jiang Maso's control?" Suddenly, a lady in red came and asked if he had been well, then bowed and greeted the newly appointed governor. Il Guan turned to Lady Pojong and asked if it would be all right spending a day with him. With a clear expression, she replied that she would do her best to serve him. Then they all went on to enjoy their return from the front lines, hoping to drink to their heart's content tonight. But Pojong, with a glare, still doesn't understand Il Guan, who's as cunning as a fox. As they were drinking, Commander Jia Hyuk exclaimed, saying that hearing the news of their blow against Jiang Maso made him feel like 10 years of stress had melted away. After a short pause, Il Guan thought to himself that Commander Jia Hyuk, who is no friend of his, reported their corruption as Zhongzhong's subordinate under Jiang Maso. Regardless of the circumstances, he betrayed his superior. Il Guan wondered what he should do. Suddenly, Commander Jia Hyuk thanked Il Guan as if reading his mind, and said that whether he wanted to or not, he played a part in General Mo Young's death, so he thanked Il Guan for giving him a chance to make amends for that mistake. With a smile, Il Guan responded that it's he who should be thanking Jia Hyuk, then raised a toast to him. After a few hours of drinking, empty jars and cups lay around, and Jia Hyuk, with slurred words, said he wished he could have seen the frustration on Jiang Maso's face directly. Il Guan, with a dry laugh, told Jia Hyuk he was already drunk. Jia Hyuk added that he was drunk from such good news. Striking a blow against those corrupting the country was such a wonderful feeling. Now, with a serious tone, Jia Hyuk asked Il Guan if he was sure about the new third-rank leader. It's a critical position to command the hidden soldiers, and he heard he's just a youngster, not even in his prime. Il Guan dropped his cup of wine and assured Jia Hyuk that Songbak, the new third-rank leader, has probably taken down 10 times more enemies than the Mongolian general he killed. It was nighttime in another scene. The sky was clear, and Songbak thought, so he's come back to this hell called the battlefield again. This time, for sure, he has to win. All the soldiers were gathered, some wondering why they were being summoned at that hour. Another added that it better not be something serious. The deputy commander called for their attention and introduced their new leader, Song Baek. One of the soldiers asked if this was a joke. They said that young kid can't be their leader. The deputy commander yelled for them to shut up. Another man asked what a kid was doing as a leader. Hadn't he just stopped drinking his mother's milk? With a dry laugh, he said calling Song Baek a leader sounded ridiculous. They said the battlefield isn't a playground for kids. The deputy commander looked at Song Baek and thought that no matter how well he fought to earn the nickname Sociolang, he was still just a youngster barely out of boyhood, not enough to handle these criminals. Suddenly, Song Baek, who had been silent, spoke up, asking the deputy commander about the punishment for disobedience of orders. The deputy, in shock, replied that the punishment was summary execution. Song Baek told the deputy that even the hidden soldiers, who were criminals, must follow military orders. Then, he began walking towards the soldiers, who wondered what he was trying to do. After a few steps, Song Baek walked up to the biggest guy in their midst. The huge guy asked what was the matter. He was just standing there, and bang, Song Baek gave him a kick that scattered his teeth. With a serious expression, Song Baek said, "You get one warning, soldier," then walked back to his spot, leaving the rest of the soldiers speechless and baffled. On the other hand, Nahogwan, who was among the soldiers, wondered how Song Baek knew the huge guy was the most notorious one. In a unit composed of criminals, the most effective way to control them is through strict measures. Honestly, Nahogwan was curious about the man Lady Ri fell for. Seems like he likes her too. He looked at Song Baek and wondered what kind of person he really is. In the base camp, Song Baek gathered his armored generals, and after a short pause, he asked the deputy commander if he had any war experience. The deputy stuttered, scratching his face, and replied that he had none. Then Song Baek asked if there was anyone with war experience, but they all just stared at each other's faces for answers. Since the entire army was wiped out in the last war, a new one was hastily assembled, but Song Baek didn't expect them to be only inexperienced officers. Suddenly, someone raised his hand and stepped forward. A man who seemed stronger than my grandpa introduced himself as Jeon Baeon, the first leader. He served in Liaodong and had been assigned to the capital army. Upon hearing this, Song Baek thought to himself that for Jeon Baeon to have served in Liaodong, he must have fought against the Khitans. The Khitans are fundamentally nomadic cavalry, much like the Mongolians. Song Baek then asked the first leader when he thought the Mongols feel most at ease. Jeon Baeon replied that it was during winter. Suddenly, a thought struck him, and with a shocked expression, he asked if Song Baek was suggesting they attack the Mongolians in the winter. The winter steppe is different from the central plains. Attacking during winter is akin to a death sentence. With a glare, Song Baek responded that in the military, you do what you're ordered to do, no questions asked. He told them that starting tomorrow, each leader would train the hidden soldiers and prepare them in armor so they could be ready to deploy at any time. The deputy said he wasn't sure the hidden soldiers would follow orders. Given that they were mostly criminals, there were numerous internal issues. They lacked loyalty to their superiors, and the murderers among them could turn their weapons at any moment. With a mean look, Song Baek said they should kill them. Jeon Baeon, still confused, asked what he meant by that. Song Baek replied that after a few are killed, the rest will likely fall in line. In another scene, it was morning, and in a room within the Eternal Pavilion, a lady told Il Guan that he should wake up as it was already morning. Il Guan scratched his eyes and asked if he could stay like this a bit longer. Lady Po Jong, while opening the window, replied that he couldn't stay, it was already morning. Il Guan told Po Jong that he didn't want to part from her. With a sarcastic tone, she said that unfortunately they have no choice. She would bring him some tea to clear his head. Il Guan replied that she's really tough to bargain with, then began dressing up. Shortly after, he was fully dressed and stared at Po Jong as she poured his tea. Il Guan asked how long it had been since they met, and she replied she wasn't sure, maybe about half a month. He asked her if it was about time she told him her real name, which shocked her so much that she began spilling the tea. She asked what he meant by that. Il Guan then said, "Isn't it strange to find a luxurious courtesan house in such a remote area?" So he looked into it through his connections in the royal court. Po Jong said, that she was not sure what he was talking about, but the Eternal Pavilion is just a courtesan house. Il Guan replied, Yes, it's a courtesan house, but not an ordinary one. It's a courtesan house of the Hao men. Now Lady Po was more stunned. She said that Il Guan was so confident that she didn't have much to argue. Then she agreed that the place was indeed Hao men. So what is it that you want? She asked. After a short silence, Il Guan replied that he wanted her. Upon hearing this, Lady Po was stunned, her face all red. She was utterly speechless. Il Guan added that, honestly, he had been thinking about how he could win her heart and had come all the way here. Lady Po, in disbelief, said that a high-ranking official of the country saying such things to a lowly courtesan, even a passing dog would laugh at that. She asked Il Guan his real reason for approaching her, but before she could finish her statement, Il Guan gave her a deep kiss she would never forget. He then said that whether she's a lowly courtesan or a lowly servant, he too was also a man who could die any day. Lady Po, her face all red, pushed him away, and after a deep sigh she asked Il Guan how many women he had seduced like this. With a smile, he told her that she was the first. Lady Po asked how she was supposed to believe that, and Il Guan replied that heaven and earth knew he wasn't lying. Lady Po looked at him for a while, and with a sharp turn, she said he was an incorrigible flirt and womanizer. Then she walked towards the door. Il Guan scratched his face and wondered if this meant she had rejected him. Suddenly, Lady Po said that her real name was Yom Okg. She looked at him and said that was her name. In an instant, Il Guan felt like a young boy, with joy flowing that he had succeeded. In the next scene, with a sky as bright as my day, Governor Il Guan was humming in the fields. He said to himself, how amusing, the sky above this dreary frontier looks so clear. Now, with a saddened expression, he looked up and asked General Moyang what he should do. He said, This fool of an older brother still can't make a decision whether to save Song Baek or not. Dongbang Chunhu, whom General Moyang saw as a father, wants to send Song Baek to a death trap, but saving Song Baek means betraying Dongbang Chunhu's wishes, and following Dongbang's orders means sending Song Baek to his death. So Il Guan wondered what he should do. Suddenly, the deputy commander came running and calling out Il Guan. As he was catching his breath, Governor Il Guan asked, Isn't he the deputy leader, Song Baek's aide? He replied yes, and said that Lord Song Baek was using training as an excuse to kill the soldiers. Il Guan quickly went there to see what was happening, and behold, when they got there, Song Baek had actually killed some soldiers. With dead eyes, Song Baek welcomed the governor. The deputy commander told Il Guan that Song Baek had been eliminating those who disobeyed orders for the past few days, and if there were any more casualties, there would be deserters as well. Governor Il Guan didn't say a word. Instead, he said to himself that it was quite disheartening that Moyang, who shared both joy and sorrows with him, had left first. General Moyang had saved him many times in the past, and that's why he decided to help this kid, whom he thought of as a brother. But when Dongbang Chunhu desired Tajar's head, Il Guan thought they would abandon Song Baek. So he wondered whether he should abandon his mission and help Song Baek escape the death trap. But if this young fellow managed to save his life by killing Tajar, Moyang would be happy, wouldn't he? Il Guan said that Moyang's brother Song Baek was actually crazier than him. Il Guan from a grin began laughing out loud, not minding the soldiers Song Baek killed. The deputy commander wondered what was going on, and Il Guan said to Song Baek that they should give it a try. They should take down Tajar, the leader of the Mongolian army. Later in the evening, Song Baek was going through some documents of the hidden soldiers. He said to himself that murders, robbery, and rape, no matter how much of a criminal they were, this was too much, but it was too urgent to train the hidden soldiers. Suddenly, the deputy commander came and said to Song Baek that the governor was calling for him. A few minutes later, he went to Governor Il Guan and was told to come in. Il Guan said they should have a drink, but Song Baek refused and asked the reason he was called. Il Guan, a little bit disappointed, said that Song Baek was really a boring guy, just as Moyang had told him. Our protagonist said to himself, Zhong Il Guan of the 10 Shadows Brigade. According to General Moyang, unlike himself, who is specialized in warfare, Il Guan is someone with considerable insight into politics. Though he had a friendship with General Moyang, he was not connected with Dongbang Chunhu. So why did Il Guan save him from execution? Song Baek wondered. It was as if Governor Il Guan was doing some mind reading when he told Song Baek not to doubt. Il Guan said that he saved Song Baek because he regretted not being able to save General Moyang. Song Baek was speechless as he heard this. Then Il Guan apologized for not introducing the lady beside him. He turned to Lady Yeom and told Song Baek that this was his sister-in-law. Lady Yeom was shocked, and her expression was like, "Are we talking about marriage already?" She then maintained her composure and told Song Baek that she was Yeom OKG. Then he also bowed and replied that he was Song Baek. Lady Yeom looked at Song Baek for a while and said to herself that he was the new leader who had just arrived, but why did he look so familiar? Il Guan, who noticed her confusion, asked what she was staring about. He reminded her that she and Song Baek had met in the past. Maybe she had forgotten. Lady Yeom tried to think about where she saw Song Baek. After a short pause, a thought struck her head. She said that she remembered those eyes now. So he was the young general from back then who had killed the superiors who betrayed General Moyang. Lady Yeom couldn't recognize him because he was all ragged and covered in blood back then. Calling their attention, Il Guan asked if they should now slowly get to the main point of the meeting. He heard there was a plan to attack the Mongolian army in the winter. Even if the training level of the hidden soldiers had improved, the mountain pass was not to be taken lightly. He asked if Song Baek had a plan for that. As they were discussing, Lady Yeom said to herself that when winter comes, the place called Haeyu, where Tajar is stationed, becomes an impregnable fortress. For the Central Army, which is weak against the cold, going there would be suicidal. Moreover, to reach Tajar, they would have to pass through the dusky mountain range. Song Baek responded that he would break through the fortress at Oj Pass, located in the dusky mountain range, with a small elite force from his soldiers. Il Guan said that this was the first time he had heard of a fortress being there. He asked if Song Baek had any evidence of the fortress, and Song Baek replied that he confirmed it during the last battle when he retreated with General Moyang. The reason the fortress has remained unknown until now is because none of the Central Plains soldiers who passed through there survived. Furthermore, the dusky mountain range is at a high elevation, making it a terrain with heavy fog and clouds. Until now, the fog had favored the enemies, but conversely, if they used it, they could turn the situation around. Governor Il Guan said that a guerrilla operation utilizing the fog with a small elite force. Is Song Baek trying to use fire tactics? Fire tactics is a strategy that employs fire for attacking enemies. Song Baek said to himself that he had only mentioned attacking with a small force, yet Il Guan had grasped the entire plan at once. He certainly was not to be underestimated. Song Baek also said to himself that the key to this operation was gunpowder, and it is the most tightly controlled military supply in the court. With Jiang Maso's tight supervision, Song Baek wondered how he could get gunpowder. Now everything seemed like Il Guan was doing some mind reading, as he asked Lady Yeom how much gunpowder she could acquire for him. Lady Yeom gave a deep sigh and said, "First he asked for money, now it's gunpowder. Just one wrong connection with a partner and look at the trouble she's in." After her nagging, she asked Song Baek how much gunpowder he would need. Our protagonist was dumbfounded. He wondered who on earth she was to have access to gunpowder. With a laugh, Il Guan said, "It seems my brother is confused about his sister-in-law's identity." He told Song Baek that, whether he believes it or not, his sister-in-law is the branch manager of the powerful Hao Men. Song Baek, upon hearing this, was shocked. Then, with a serious expression, Il Guan assured him that the gunpowder issue was resolved. He asked Song Baek if he had thought about which of the criminals to select for the mission. In another scene, on the training grounds where the hidden soldiers train, No Hogwan, whose identity is still mysterious, said to himself that this lifestyle was getting a bit tiresome. The war was about to start, so he should hurry and distance himself. After a short pause, he gritted his teeth. Thinking about it made him angry, but he had come all this way because of that woman, Lady Ri. He wanted to see the man she fell for, and now he's in this mess. He wondered if he should at least slap that brat Song Baek before he leaves. As No Hogwan was deep in thought, one of the leaders snapped that he wasn't training properly, and he apologized. Suddenly, a voice echoed, instructing everyone to pay attention. The soldiers murmured, "Ah, Master Song is here. Who is he planning to kill today?" Another cautioned them to keep quiet, reminding them that Master Song could hear everything they said. Suddenly, Song Bake dropped a bag of money. Upon seeing this, the soldiers were filled with awe. Song Bake then said that the tails of silver were the prize for those selected for this mission. If they wanted the money, they should feel free to reduce the number of people to 5 on their own, a ruthless and quicker way to pick the best of the best.